Hello everybody, the dojo is now open. I am your Sensei Bendo.
I'm Konya Crystal.
I'm Cheesy.
I am Messa.
I'm Parachuting Kitten.
I'm Kevin.
And welcome to NINJAGOCast, where today, the day is finally upon us. We are here to talk about Season 4, Part 1. And it's been a hot minute since we've had a new Ninjago episode release. Obviously, we had Season 3, Part 2 in October, but with most of that leaking online, it kind of felt like we had, you know, a year basically
you're right.
without new episodes. So it's been a while since we've like had a new episode of NinjagoCast discussing stuff that just came out. And now, of
one
course,
thing I can say about Season 4 is it didn't leak like not that much.
It's crazy.
Not yet.
Don't hold your breath, because Part 2 could. Oh, you never know.
Throw it out.
You
Could
never
come out tomorrow for all we
you
know.
never know. But yeah, thank you.
Was I on the? Sorry, my bad. Was
No,
I on
no,
the Season 3 Part 2 video?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I don't think you've missed a
Okay.
episode review.
Cool.
I
Sounds
believe.
good.
I'm not fully confident on that, though, actually.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to have you back. And yeah, no, I was just gonna say thank you everyone who's here for joining me for this episode. We got quite the fun cast here today, and I'm excited to hear what everybody thinks about this season, because I've not really discussed it too much since I've watched it. And it's one of those things where the season has a lot of stuff going on. Season has a lot of stuff going on. But I'm not sure really where to start, because like obviously I don't want I want to start with general opinions, but I kind of want to save general opinions for the end. But like, just I guess coming out of the season, like, because last episode we kind of talked about expectations, and obviously not everyone who's here was on the last episode, but just like when it comes to expectations going into the season, like how did we feel, and like how are we feeling afterwards? Like what is the general like vibe from the cast going on here?
Can I share what my expectation was?
Yes.
So from the very first moment that the set leaks came out, I immediately thought this is going to be weird, because none of the minifigures had any cohesion with each other whatsoever. You had these like weird electric eel looking things that were like totally not serpentine, I swear. We had, rock monsters. We had these weird like goblin looking things with like vine arms and like cyclops faces, and then these cultists. And I was like, what's the through line here? How does this all connect in like a meaningful way? I was immediately put off by the sets, and I think that was very prophetic. But anyway, also I think that after Season 3, which really like I felt churned and burned some of the more interesting potential development or progression for Dragons Rising with the Forbidden Five, with Thunderfang and stuff. What I figured from the ending with the Source Dragons doing their thing is that we were about to finally get like big answers about the Source Dragons. We were going to move the plot forward in a meaningful way, and Roz was going to take advantage of the ninja being split up to make big plays and start to bring us into the end game. And needless to say, I got exactly that, because Roz was my favorite part of the season. Every scene he was in, he stole the show. He had great fight scenes, and the scene where we learned who his master was crazy. I mean, I can't believe it was for the first Spinjitzu master. Like, Kit, you totally called that, like 100%. No, obviously, I mean, that's just where my head was at, and I was wrong. So.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like pretty valid expectations to me, to be honest. At least before we got like all the marketing and trailers and stuff.
Indeed.
Yep.
But so here's the thing. Here's the thing with Season 4, right? Because I think a lot of the community sentiment going into this thing was like Season 3 was kind of rocky for most people, just for the community in general. Very split opinions on that season. A lot of people not feeling great about it, others not having nearly as much issue with it. A lot of people really enjoying it, but I think season 4 was kind of the one that was going to be like, okay, so we're at this weird spot with Dragons Rising now. Where are we going from here? What are we going to do next? How are we going to get this back on track? And the general community sentiment seems very, very positive. Everyone seems to be enjoying it a lot. And I think the main thing, right? I think the main thing for me is I went into the season really wanting to like it. I went into the season really, really, looking forward to see what they would do, but having reserved expectations.
Mhm.
And it's one that I kind of watched and have not really been able to discern anything from. Like, I just kind of watched it, and I watched it in a more interesting way than I normally do, because I was like, okay, I'll do like 2 episodes a day and like kind of stretch it out and see if that helps instead of just binging it all at once. And then on the 3rd day of doing that, I was just like, no, I'm just gonna get this over with and watch the rest of it. But it's just one that I'm just sitting here and I'm just, there's a lot to pick through, but none of it really sparks any discussion in me. Nothing really
Okay.
sparks any like enthusiasm.
That's fair. Let me
Yeah.
do a layup here and tell you again. So, previously before the stream started, I told everyone that I love Dragons Rising because of how much it's dragging me through what it's giving me. In a sense that every time there's some flashy like great fight scene, amazing lore drop, great characterization, that I'm like, ooh, awesome. And then it goes haywire and then it drags me again with something that I don't really like that much. And then they pump up the gas and say, you know what? You don't like that? Fine, we're gonna give you this. And it's this constant push and pull of things that I like and things that I'm indifferent about. Whenever season 3 happened, we had been building the Forbidden Five and Thunderfang for so long, about 2 seasons worth of content of those characters. Finally, all of that stuff is over, and I thought they were going to build on top of that with what Meso said, which was like, oh, part 1's gonna have Roz do some things in the background while everybody's separated. He did, we just didn't get to see it, and instead we took this nice pit stop with 3 different stories about 3 separate characters going on some kind of journey with their support, where at the end we're at Imperium and we're beating the snot out of Beatrix. And you know what? I'm cool with that. I was very cool with that. I'm going to have like this strange case where I felt with season 2 in particular, where season 1 part 1 and season 2 part 2 were 2 separate things that I enjoyed, where it had one arc and then one arc and it was clean. And now here I am sitting there and I feel like this season feels like a setup for other things that we'll probably talk about later on in the video, because that's how I feel at this point. I feel like I was pulled along by a ride, and then I was like, wait, what actually happened in this to move the story forward? I feel like that I was at a pit stop that was fueled on nothing but aura and vibes.
I mean, sometimes
Honestly, that's so real,
And
though.
it's a good way to put it.
That is a good way to
Then,
put
I
it.
guess I'll piggy off of that one. And so going into this season, I have very mixed feelings on parts of not even parts of Dragons Rising, but sort of Dragons Rising in a lot of ways. I feel like it's, even from the start, sadly never really like clicked with me as much as it has with maybe other people. I feel like there are things that I absolutely love about Dragons Rising, or characters especially that I love. But a lot of the time early on, maybe it was fatigue from Ninjago in general, maybe it's other outside forces, but I before I guess maybe Kit joined. I don't really know. I think you like it more now than you did before, but I felt like I was like the number one Dragons Rising semi disliker because I couldn't say like hater, but I was like, well, this is fine, I guess. This is a good enough time. And then season 3 actually all of season 3 came out, and I was like, okay, I'm having fun here, but is it really good if you think about it? And I feel like from like a structural standpoint, it's not. I think there are still things in that season that I do enjoy, especially more of the like self-indulgent, like, oh my god, Pixel's back, or oh my god, this thing or that thing. But it's not really like an inherently good piece of work, I guess. Here, I went in expecting at least the Lloyd story to be really good, and that the rest of the stuff was going to be however it was. And I think for the most part, my expectations were met or slightly maybe more than met in certain other aspects that we'll get into later. But like generally, I think maybe it's above average expectations, but I don't know if that inherently means that I love this season more than other Ninjago entries, I guess. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
I guess to piggy off of that piggyback, I have to say, like, coming out of season 3, which I guess to give my brief thoughts on it, I thought was a pretty bad season, and I came out feeling very disappointed and very concerned about like the direction Dragons Rising was going. And so heading into season 4, I was like really concerned about like how they're going to execute the story, mostly because of with season 3 being as messy and as clunky as it was, especially with its enormous cast, which it didn't really seem like they shrunk it in the least based on like the trailers and whatnot. So I came in there very worried, but I wanted to at least like, because I love Ninjago and I always will. So I came into the season at least with an open mind and being like, okay, now that I'm watching the season, I'm going to go in there, see what's good, what's bad. And now finishing the season and taking my time with it, I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it would. And it did kind of surprise me in more ways than I expected. Though I don't have, I don't like praise it as much as many people seem to have. Like, I think it's a good season, not a great one in my opinion, though.
Valid.
What about you, Kit?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I went in expecting to like have fun with it because I was just riding the good vibes, and I did exactly that. So expectations met. There were of course aspects which fell short, but honestly, those were the ones that I don't personally have a ton of investment in, and then the ones that I did exceeded expectations. So it was just a great time all around. I think like this season is the one that I think finally like I can say that like it feels like, oh, this is my show now. Like I don't think I've been able to say that about Dragons Rising for myself personally. I was like, I'm into Ninjago and I enjoy Dragons Rising also because it is attached to Ninjago. And now I feel like I actually just care about Dragons Rising for itself 100% for what it is, and I'm just in the Dragons Rising portion of the fandom now.
That's so interesting.
Which is exciting for me. I think maybe part of that is that this season, well, it of course had a bunch of callbacks to the old show in a number of different ways, but it also felt, I think because it was such a bottle episode of a installment for Dragons Rising, weirdly enough, it did feel more like an old school Ninjago season where it's like, here's the thing we're doing this season, and it
For
all
real.
gets wrapped up within the season for the most part. And part of me thinks like, has been thinking back and just thinking like, maybe Dragons Rising shouldn't be as serialized as it is, because if it did just allow the stakes to be set for like, here's what we're doing this season, like maybe like Thunderfang wouldn't have felt like such a roundabout, and this season wouldn't
I
you
think
wouldn't
you're
come away feeling
100%
pointless
right.
because
I
Sure,
agree,
yes.
definitely.
like the
Yeah.
expectations would just be, this is what we're doing this season, and you feel satisfied because that's all you're looking forward to. And then if there was a background story of here's what Roz is doing in the background, slowly building over the series, not necessarily established like it is currently, like upfront of like, this is the stakes, because when you set it up that early, that isn't, that feels like a waste of time when it really it isn't. Really, our characters have done a ton happened this season.
Yeah,
It just
and
doesn't feel like, because they didn't set the stakes for what they are.
yeah, it's kind of like everyone's I think everyone's really been down on like filler seasons or like filler episodes, but I think Dragons Rising is kind of like at a point where people are actively begging and are secretly kind of hoping for that kind of domesticity that we hardly
Mhm.
ever get in Ninjago proper. It's just like it's like season after season, it's just like one contained story, and all the stakes are really high until the last episode, and we eventually have to start all over. Um, I genuinely enjoyed that we had taken this pit stop, especially considering he was like, oh, did something happen? Yes, it very much happened, and a lot of these things are like setting up for other things that are in the future that I am really excited about. And I'm glad we rested here. I'm glad we had them separate just a little bit, because we genuinely got small moments that I don't think that we could have gotten if we gotten a more serialized story out of this first
No,
part of
seriously,
this season.
so
I
many
100%
character moments.
agree. Yeah.
So many great character
Those
moments.
were the best
Like
parts.
I
for
think
sure.
I think
Yeah.
it's something we really needed to, because like
Mhm.
the early Dragons Rising has definitely felt to me like, oh, we're running, the plot's going, it's always going. We have to keep going, we have to keep upping the stakes and getting to where we need to go from point A to point B. But here, it finally gave the bits of like character. Oh my god, I love character moments for real. But like the good character moments, some progression within like some of their arcs, but not in a way that felt like it was squished against a bigger plot that we've been following since the start. And I think it was very nice, a really good breath of fresh air.
I don't disagree. I think there's a lot of good points that are made, and I think for me, I think the tonal dissonance I'm having comes from a matter of like, well, what are my expectations? And I feel like for me, I can't speak for like the fandom at large, but Dragons Rising kind of billed itself as the Oni trilogy. And I don't mean that necessarily in tonality so much as I mean in terms of serialization, in terms of like this being just different chapters of a larger story that would all connect together. And it kind of does, but it really doesn't. Imperium had nothing to do with the wolf masks, which really had nothing to do with the Forbidden Five, which really had nothing to do with Thunderfang when you really think about it, who especially did not have anything to do with these random grab bag elemental creatures. It really is just a bunch of seasons with their theming kind of loosely strung together. And my problem is I came into this not really looking at it that way. What I'm really looking for is a rising of stakes, a gradually like darkening tone that starts kind of cheery, ends up getting more serious. I want like each event to kind of directly lead into the next to build the stakes. And what was the biggest problem with season 3? Well, the biggest problem with season 3, in my opinion, was that season 2 set up the Forbidden Five only for them to like automatically get discarded, to set up Thunderfang, who automatically got discarded, and now we've just looped back around to Imperium. And that's not even like a bad thing per se. Like, I know we're going to talk about like Beatrix and stuff, but I do think this was always the plan. I think that there was no one who legitimately thought that was the last we would ever see of Beatrix when she like disappeared in season 1. Obviously, she was going to come back in some capacity. But for me, it's just like placement. It's what is her place in the overall story. And to kind of loop back around to the start when we were, or at least when I was hoping for an escalation, has kind of just led me to feeling, I don't know, just kind of empty. Because on our video about season 1, I remember saying, like, okay, Beatrix isn't the greatest character ever. Imperium's kind of okay as a villain, but they're the starter villains. They're just kind of introducing this whole thing. And I think that's okay because we're going to get more nuanced villains as we go along. Now we're on season 4, and I actually think she was like even less nuanced this go round. Like
Oh,
even
yeah.
less interesting
Yeah,
now.
well, I love Beatrix for like this one reason. I I really like her because she's just straight up crazy and evil.
Mhm.
Like how many like Ninjago villains like Thunderfang or Roz or literally anybody else like besides the Overlord be like maybe even since what? Like Hands of Time where there's like a villain who or no, Master of the Mountain or Kalmar would be like the last one where those villains were enjoyable because of how evil they are. And with it just being like a pit stop, oh, we're going back to Imperium to do like this little thing and pump the brakes just a little bit. Beatrix is also kind of like a fresh air, and also she's crazy for a reason. That Land of Monsters suit is both her, like organically, and a mechanical suit. Like that's all of Beatrix now,
The mech
which
was
is
really cool. How they like
crazy.
made it part of her.
Yeah, I
And
think.
the
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
lightning strikes and aura and 2D animated sequence of her in the Land of Monsters and Nicole Oliver just getting the chance to be straight up evil after being Celestia for so long. Like, it felt great.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
fair. I get that completely.
for me, I feel like a lot of the appeal of Beatrix came less from the character herself and more the whole operation that Imperium was.
Agreed.
I think like the whole like strange like odd but like also kind of weirdly well done like political commentary in season 1 was pretty fun and like
I
new for a
still keep
Ninjago
thinking,
season.
yeah, I still keep thinking about to this day the green screen children.
Yeah, it's like
That's
like
the
there
best.
were genuinely really like interesting things going on with Beatrix and Imperium as a whole, I think, in season 1. And like okay, it's not completely lost here because I do like the world building aspects of like of course like there would be loyalists for Beatrix and I like that they explore that and I think that's a good continuation of the whole Imperium storyline. It's weird that we're getting it like so many seasons later. Like this is so long ago and we're just now getting the ramifications of this. I feel like this should have been like things feel a little out of order here in my opinion, but
It's
Yeah.
really weird to
it
me. Like I can't, because like I said, I believe this was always the plan. I'm sure
Mhm.
these guys have like mapped out Dragons Rising, but like telling the story in this way, like we're coming up on the end, right? Like
Oh,
Yeah, we're
we've
close.
only
We're really
got like
close.
we're
three
close.
three
We're
parts
about
left.
2 seasons in, yeah.
Like, and this is kind of like, I mean, my impression this whole season was like, okay, I'm liking it. I had fun watching it. You calling it like a ride earlier, like a pit stop, great way to put it. It was totally fun. There wasn't an episode I didn't like, but at
Yeah.
the end, I'm just like, was this a story that needed to be told?
Mm.
And I don't just
Yeah.
feel that way about the Beatrix stuff. I also feel that way about the Lloyd stuff too.
yeah.
But I don't know if we're ready to hop into that yet. What do you think?
Yeah. There's
I'm
I
down.
pros and cons. I genuinely believe that some of the things that they do and answer in this part are springboards for things that are probably going to happen in part 2 when Roz comes back.
I
Yeah.
sure hope
Like
so.
I
We'll
mean,
see.
we saw him go to that place, and we saw like a couple of things like they list out, oh wait a minute, Aaron's spinjitzu is corrupted. Zayn points that out to him. That's Roz's fault, probably. uh Jay on his side of things is basically being like, oh, I'm getting all of my memories back, and but some of them are gone, and evil Lloyd is basically telling Lloyd, hey, Jay's soul is shattered, and there's a gong of shattering still at that temple at the end of the season, part of the season. And then we've got the whole deal with Frak about his parents and being like, well, Sora, your parents are awful too, but guess what? I have loyalty. I'm loyal to my parents, blah blah blah, yada yada. And here comes Sora's parents. Like all of these like all of these things are like leading up to things that I'm excited about and genuinely are terrified of because of
Mhm.
Roz coming back, because of what we went through in this part. I think
Yeah.
this time, I don't think that part one for me is going to be as easily put in a tier list in a vacuum because of those reasons.
That's totally fair. And I mean,
I guess
hey,
like
if you're an Imperium fan, I mean, you got what you got all you could ever want for it. If you love Beatrix, like you do, Kit. I know she's your favorite character.
Oh
You
yes,
must have been very happy.
I love Dollar Store Sphera.
I guess for the Beatrix stuff, uh it's like we were talking so heavily about it. I think my thing about Beatrix is I was very interested to see like how they would do the loyalist aspect of the story because like we already have the Empyreans and all of that story established. We already know what happens. And so I was curious to see, okay, how are they going to, I guess, continue that? What's the fallout and whatnot? And to be honest, I kind of think Beatrix is not as handled as well here as she was in season one because like to back off of what or to back what Bendo said earlier, like part of what made like Beatrix, I think like as good of a villain as she could be in that season was because of like what the whole society of Empyrean represented, the society that Beatrix built, as well as like having Sora as the character to really drive that story and give it that emotional core that resonated with so many people there. And so a lot of those factors just aren't in play for this part of the story. And so Beatrix kind of fell more flat because like she's just kind of there
Yeah.
and she doesn't really have much more interesting stuff besides that one like a cool animated scene in like the land of monsters. And I was like, okay, I kind of like seeing this and seeing like her mindset there, but like I guess as far as like character depth goes and as far as like uh her involvement in the story, there isn't really much else to her. And to me, I don't know how people feel about the finale, but to me, I it didn't really hit for me as much as it did for other people. And that's mainly because Beatrix is so like disconnected from like say the Lloyd stuff since like the big battles between her and Lloyd. And so the finale as a result just didn't really hit for me that much.
Well, it's
And their
because the
And they
dynamic was
weapon
so
was
bland too.
controlling her. Ooh, spooky.
ooh, goodness. They tried, I think, with Laurel, but we had seen so little of her
Mhm.
throughout the entire season that even that aspect of it was a little flat as well. So it was like, oh, I didn't know she was gonna use that weapon. It's gonna make her crazy. Blah blah blah. Yada yada. I genuinely thought blah blah blah, and
Yeah, that was
it's
really
just
weird.
one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was
I feel
totally
like
sane and stable before she picked up the weapon.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Sure.
didn't
Yeah.
really notice
Really.
much of a difference.
I feel
Um,
like the biggest issue for me when it comes to Beatrix, and it's something that me and Kevin were talking about like a day or two ago when we were rewatching with some other people. Beatrix I feel like the second best villain of Dragons Rising, which isn't inherently I guess Roz is a high bar because he's just genuinely a good character and a good villain. But like every other villain feels as if they just don't get enough, aren't compelling enough in of themselves, or here in this case, the best thing about a villain usually tends to be that they somehow parallel the main character. And I think, or the main character of, I guess, even just the season, since we tend to have like a revolving door of who is important enough in any given point in time. But technically, Beatrix had a version of that in season 1 because Sora was basically the main character, and the way that the society of Imperium affected her was a part of her arc and etc. And technically Beatrix was the reason why society was like that in the first place. But this time, if we're counting Lloyd as the main character, they have like no foil at all. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that, hey, technically she's mad at all the ninja for doing the stuff they did prior. But like, I don't really feel as if it really counts as true foil, I guess. I don't know. Because you
Which is
usually
an
want that.
absolute shame with the
No, for
title
real.
of the last episode being called Birthright.
It's like,
And
this,
it's like, oh, Beatrix was literally born to be the leader of Imperium and she was deposed, and Lloyd was supposed to be the leader of the Whispering Wood and blah 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 yada yada. Like, again, like something so easy that they could connect to that they don't. And
I
yeah.
didn't even think about
Man,
that.
I lampshaded it a bit for comedy, but like, Kit, what did you think of Beatrix? I know you have some opinions on her.
I don't really. I try not, like, every
That's
time
so
she's
funny.
on screen, I just instantly forget that she was there. She just leaves no impact on me. She feels like do you ever have a friend who's like just trying so desperately to be taken seriously? And you
Yes.
can feel the like self-conscious effort oozing off, and you just like, stop. Don't,
Yeah.
you gotta stop. That's Beatrix. Every time she's on screen, it's like, okay, we get it, girl. Like, you're very angry. Can you move along? Like, for me, least interesting plot line in the season every single time we cut to Beatrix.
I wanted to learn like just a little bit about what the protector of the true path thing meant. And I don't think we're ever gonna learn.
It's
Remember?
just her
That
aura
was a
farming,
thing.
trying to aura
so
farm, not even
funny.
doing it effectively.
Like, I believe that's canonically
For
like a
real.
made up title. I believe she just like made that up herself and it means nothing.
Yeah,
Because that's funny.
fair.
Like,
And like, I guess
That's genuinely fair.
The thing is, like, if this were like Ispira, like I have mentioned before, like, you would totally believe that that is something Ispira would do. She would like make up this title for herself, and she would be proud of it or whatever. And like, if Beatrix is doing, she's just honestly trying to get it by people, which is not. Anyway, I don't hate her. She just feels like a waste of space to me in
Yeah.
general.
No, I get
I
it.
can't be bothered to really work up an opinion
I
about what they
liked her.
did well with her, what they didn't, because I don't care.
That's
She's,
fair. I liked her fine
So
in
fair.
season 1, but I treated her the same way I would treat like the leader of the Fangpire.
That's
you know,
funny.
or like that one,
hey,
you know,
Fangshove is
like
the go.
I then like he was fine. He was cool for what he was, which was like a season 1 villain. So like, that's kind of how I treated her. But now, if I were to compare her, say like from the old show, which isn't really fair, I know, but like, well, now she's like a season 4 villain. So Master Chin, I'm like, she ain't no Master Chin. That's all I'm saying. But either way, we can probably like move on.
Yeah, do we wanna talk about Lloyd?
Yeah,
Yes,
I feel
please.
like Lloyd's
We
We
can
can
pretty
talk
see-
about Lloyd first.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Lloyd is like the one thing I have things to say about, by which I mean I don't really. I watched that entire plot line, and I'm just gonna be totally real with you all. It was fine.
Yeah.
There were some good
Yeah.
scenes in there. Some people hate the retcon. I don't. My honest opinion is I always thought it was kind of weird how the legendary prophesied Green Ninja did not have anything to do with anything past season 3. And I felt like that plot point was kind of a relic of that first iteration of the show, and they kept trying to find ways to kind of tie Lloyd back into things, like with the Oni trilogy or with his Oni form, and it never really clicked with me because I was always like, well, what about that golden power thing? What about that green, power prophecy thing? But them doing it this way, doing child's play, reincorporation, all that fun stuff, thought it was totally fine. And the animation was really good, and Jillian Michaels was fantastic. It was really cool to see. But there was this thought in the back of my head the whole time, and it just got bigger and bigger as the episodes went on, especially the finale. And I'm just going to say it. The reason I don't have a lot to say about this Lloyd plotline is because I already talked about the Lego Ninjago movie like 9 years ago.
True. We
And
must apologize to the
we
writers of the
we
Lego
must
Ninjago
bow.
movie.
No, for
We
real.
must kneel. We must beg
They knew
forgiveness.
this. They
Like,
knew what his power was before
From
it
the
was even
beginning.
written into existence.
What
Another Green Ninja prophecy. Let's go.
Would it be
and
bad
like,
if
the
I
sure.
Ninjago movie writers had Oda level foreshadowing unlocked.
I mean, I'm sure this was always the plan for Lloyd. Like, I'm sure that Tommy had an idea of what his powers were, which is why all the weird ambiguity around it for so many years has always kind of really annoyed me, because I always said on podcasts when we talked about this, there's not some great mystery here. It's very obvious what his powers are, what they always were, because since day one, he's always been sharing powers with the other ninja. He's always been the catalyst for them getting powers. He's always been, when he loses his powers, they lost their powers. It's always been connection. So for the writers of multiple series and multiple iterations of the show to do this long, protracted kind of mystery dance and finally reveal that that is what his powers were, like, I don't hate it because it's consistent, but I also didn't really have much to say about it because I just kind of figured that's what it always was. You know what I mean?
It just feels
I feel
like
you.
a breath. Like they revealed it, and I was like, okay, I'm okay with this.
Yeah, and like the
And
way
then
they did it was
yeah.
really cool.
Oh yeah.
So, like, it was done well, except leaving Wildfire off the poster. But,
Yes.
I
And
digress.
Ryu.
Ooh.
And
Oh, and
Ryu.
That's true. How can I forget?
Yeah, and Ryu.
Main character
Oh.
Ryu.
Oh yeah, main character power up
You want to know
Ryu.
something? What's the one thing Ryu and Wildfire have in common? They are dragons. I think we know what the scroll is
True.
Okay,
implying.
but we are all dragons, okay? So like
Yes.
The scroll did not believe that dragons
Well, the
could
scroll
rise.
clearly didn't think so. So
dragons
and
don't get
someone-
included in this scroll for
Yes.
is this
True.
scroll biased against
And-
dragons?
oh, we moved on from snake racism to dragon
Dragon
racism. How
racism.
progressive. How progressive. Dragons rising.
There's also something really great that someone pointed out before the season started with the 2 clips. This is actually also a connection to Sons of Garmadon with the shadow puppets. The thing that exists between the dragon and the Oni whenever Mistake has those shadow puppets, there is a tree in the middle that is separating them. And that is indeed depicted here as the tree of life.
Wow.
As
That's cool.
and it is so cool. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And then I looked at that scene again in Sons of Garmadon. And then I looked at that scene where they had the depiction of the tree with the other trees and the whispering wood on that papyrus or that paper or whatever. It's the same tree. It's been there this whole time.
the more you know.
And
Right.
like if I was gonna be nitpicky, I'm sure I could be like, well, was it always the plan, or did they just reuse that tree and like ad lib it? But
Exactly.
it really doesn't matter because to me
No.
it feels natural. It feels well done.
Yeah.
A lot of
And I'm
people
glad
were
they did their
annoyed at the
homework.
idea of like this being some kind of retcon, but like to me it's not a big logical jump. It just kind of
Mhm.
makes sense. If anything, I would just question like, okay, the source dragons withheld their power and it caused all these like beasts to come up, and so the solution to this whole thing was to restore the strength of the wood. Does the wood have anything to do with why the source dragons have been like getting weaker, or why they're infighting? You know what I mean? Like, is there a greater narrative purpose to this for like Dragons Rising specifically? Or is it just like, oh yeah, while all these other events have been going on, the world has been like steadily dying, and regardless of the plot, the world was gonna die anyway. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Am I
Mhm.
making sense? It's like
Yeah.
I don't exactly see like the correlation, unless maybe like the source dragons being present in the world was enough of a stabilizing factor to keep the wood alive even without Lloyd. And then when they took their powers away, then it died.
That's kind of how I read it. It was like, we got these alternate power supplies. One of them goes down. We can manage, but both of them go down. We got to fix one of them.
And that's fine by me. That makes enough sense.
I
don't
So-
think like
Sorry, go ahead.
no, you go.
No, I was done. You can go.
I no, I meant Bendo.
Oh, okay. Well, you go first because mine's a long tangent.
Okay. I guess like because like I do agree with pretty much a lot of what Meso said about like the Green Ninja storyline. I like the retcon. It's very consistent with the rest of the series, and it really isn't that dramatic of a retcon considering all the information we knew up to this point and all the lore we have of it. And like you said, like the whole Green Ninja prophecy hasn't been relevant for like nearly 2 decades. Well, I guess over a decade at this point. So I'm okay with them expanding on that and finally having that at least come full circle, at least in my opinion. So that's something I did enjoy about the arc, as it did like elaborate on it and finally put like a little bow on it after so much debate and discussion about Lloyd's powers in the fandom. But I think a negative that I would have for the storyline, and you've been you sort of mentioned it, is like I do think like the Lloyd storyline feels very like disconnected from like the rest of the story that's happening in the season,
Hmm.
because like you have like this Lloyd storyline here like trying to like go on this existential quest to like rediscover his like true potential and all the like implications that'll have for like the story moving forward. And then on the other side, you have Beatrix just go like ready to go on a rampage in Imperium, and it's like the Beatrix stuff just has no influence on the Lloyd stuff until like the last 2 episodes. And on the flip side, the Lloyd stuff has no influence on the Beatrix stuff until like the very last episode. And so like those two storylines never really coalesce with each other. And even when they do, it's a pretty weak attempt to coalesce them. And so I was ultimately unsatisfied with how they try to bring those two stories together. And like this is sort of the feeling I had with like the plot as a whole. It's just very like messy and disjointed, and I
Yeah.
felt that the most with the Lloyd storyline, and not because the Lloyd storyline was bad, just more so how everything around it just could not connect to that story. Even though I did think the Lloyd story, in my opinion, was the best story of the season out of all like
I
the arcs
agree.
that was happening.
It's funny too, because going into this, I thought, okay, out of all these things that might happen, I think this is going to be the best thing. And it basically was, I think. Like, in terms of, like, the most solid, well-written part of the season, I guess. I also think that it fits really well, and it did I think work out along with some other stuff we'll get to talking about later probably, but I think it works really well in a meta context to be going back to this whole Green Ninja thing just because, oh hey, it's the 15th anniversary, and I don't feel like any of the callbacks were super nostalgia baity, I guess, for lack of a better term. It felt all pretty concise
With
and
purpose.
with
Yeah,
purpose,
it was
and it was
purpose.
nice. It was like a nice return, and I thought that was cute.
Yeah, I am curious to see like how part 2 will further expand like not only like the ramifications of that story, but also see what impact that'll have for I guess like the main conflict with Roz and
Mhm.
I guess a ninja all around him and whatnot. Because like you know, I've seen some theories going around on like maybe the ninja team will break up by the end of the season or whatever,
Ooh.
given like the
Huh.
conversations
Mm.
between him and like quote unquote evil Lloyd and then one confrontation. So like I'm really curious to see at least where that storyline goes. And
Yeah.
you know, my criticism on the storyline is more so on like the overall plot than the storyline itself, I guess is the best way to put it. But I just thought that should be noted because I felt that issue with the Lloyd storyline the most.
As the resident Source Dragon Vision enjoyer, Bindo, what did you think of Lloyd's arc and how it was really weird that they didn't mention the visions or being a conduit like once?
Well,
Yeah, what do you think?
that
I'm
that
surprised we forgot about that, huh?
that is one thing for sure. But the thing with the Lloyd thing, the thing with the Lloyd stuff, right, is that like going into the season, it was basically like the one thing that I was like, okay, I'm actually interested in seeing what goes on here. I'm optimistic, and I feel like this could be really cool. Obviously, it could crash and burn, but I'm intrigued to see what happens. And a big part of that was just because I think the retcon is genuinely like one of the smartest retcons like in the entire series. I think
Yeah.
the setup is actually like brilliant of the Tomorrow's Tea skipping the aging, using that to explain Lloyd's role that he missed out on, adding more depth to the role of the Green Ninja, adding more of a purpose to it, expanding on that in a really interesting way. I think all that stuff is really cool. Um, the thing is, I feel like by the end of the whole thing, you don't really gain anything from anything that happens past the initial premise. It's like we have Lloyd's whole thing. The pacing is like so unbearably atrocious to where it's not even till like episode 6 or 7 that we wasn't
Chat is
even gonna
gonna
be intentional, but
explode.
I just had to.
Great.
Not even till then where we get like the first like scene or two of him with young Lloyd, and then we cut away after 2 seconds, and then an episode later we cut back for another like 3 second scene, and then we cut away for a whole episode, and then cut back the next episode for like a few more minutes of screen time, and then like by episode 9 we actually have more than a scene that lasts more than 5 minutes of this plot line. So that was kind of frustrating going in and being like, this is the one thing I'm actually interested in, and it takes up about like 10% of the runtime, if even that.
Mhm.
It ends at like episode 8 and it really starts at like episode 5. So it's like it takes 3 episodes to do something that we could have done in one episode.
We could, yeah,
Real.
that was
And-
basically gonna be my consensus, and that feels like a lot of things in the season. A lot of these things could have
that's the
just been
whole
their
season.
own episode.
Yeah.
This whole season
Mhm.
could have been like 4 episodes, and it could have been
I
like,
feel
this is the
That's
J
real.
plot episode. This is the Sora and New Ninja plot, or Frak and New Ninja plot episode. This is the Lloyd episode, and then this is the big finale where they all come together. Maybe a 5th episode
Yeah.
for Cole in there. Or
Whole
something.
episode.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the thing is, right? Because it's like, okay, well, cool premise. We got the Lloyd stuff. We are still we're not adding anything new to his characterization here, I feel like, because we're doing all this stuff. We're adding like the young Lloyd interactions, which are cool, but what is this serving? I don't really see this any story this is serving. And then you have the enemy Lloyd interaction, which is a neat premise as well, because I love me some good like hero faces off against their dark reflection and then like goes
And the
has like a
things
whole like
that he says
identity struggle.
to Lloyd,
That stuff is awesome,
I
but it's just the writing for me just leaves so much to be desired because I feel like it just does
Hmm.
not necessarily dig deep into any specific character flaw. Like the whole character flaw is Lloyd feels like a failure. Lloyd feels like he's not living up to Wu, and he's not doing all these things right, and he's not able to connect the ninja in this way. But we did this. This was the tournament arc. We did this already. We've had this story for Lloyd. This is like this is the one thing that they've been able to do now since the whole vision thing. And I thought the vision thing was so nuanced and interesting and had such a nice takeaway from it. And now we're just back to
yeah, I think
to Lloyd feeling like he's a failure.
I think someone on Twitter said that uh the people who ship Lloyd with trauma are absolutely eating right now.
But
They
Real.
the trauma
they because yeah, because this is just in addition to all the visions and being a conduit and all of the things that he feels in the Whispering Wood. Like, he's genuinely going to have, like, this destiny that he never thought he would ever have for himself and be okay with it. And it's like, nah, we can move on from that. And I was like, no, just let him go through it, please. Just
Yeah,
talk
but
about it.
I feel like it doesn't necessarily address that in a very interesting way, and like the drama just isn't. It doesn't hook me, and I don't feel like we learn anything new about Lloyd that I couldn't have already gleaned before. And it's just like I just walk away from it being like, what was the point of any of this? Why did this happen? That I don't know.
It's
Like,
it's
It was
probably
cute and it was fun. That was the
but
point.
it like I don't even know if I
It
had
could have
fun
had
with
larger
it.
ambitions. It
Oh,
probably should have had.
I don't know if
but
I even had fun watching. Like I was just sitting there like this is cool, but like anytime I try to get immersed in it, it cut away before I could because it's like every
Endo Bricks
most of the
is
scenes like
anti-fun. is
3
what we learned today.
seconds,
yes.
and it's like I like
The
I
point
wanted
was
to
to
like
prove
it.
that
I
you
went
got the
in and I was like,
right-
this
you
is
read
so
it
cool,
right.
young Lloyd. This is so cool. But then I just walk away. I'm like, it just feels so pointless and meaningless. And I just I can't help but just be like, okay, well, this is like a fun little collection of scenes, but
No, I feel you. I
like
feel like the
I don't get
pacing,
any value from it.
the pacing thing is so because last season was sort of the same kind of issue. At this point, I feel like I'm like numb to like the oh, we're gonna cut away for like 5 seconds and we're gonna go to the next scene and then the next scene. And so I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe my expectations were low enough to where I was like, well, this is nice. I like some of the stuff here. I like Lloyd interacting with young Lloyd. That's nice. So
I should have expected
I
it.
get you,
It's
though.
basically like the it reminds me of the Moro thing because it's
Hmm.
like it's this big like fun callback that makes a lot of sense and it's explained really well and does genuinely very good lore stuff for the show.
Mhm.
But it gets like the most annoyingly paced out like screen time, and it adds nothing to the character like that it's supposed
I
to be
think that's
Yeah.
like an
Long term.
amalgamation
focusing on.
of everything that we were talking about last season, where it's like they're so great at doing build up, but whenever they get to the payoff, they end up tripping.
Like, imagine
I
if
don't
the Moro
necessarily think
scenes.
that's what this was necessarily. Like, there wasn't build up for
Yeah,
this, unless
this
you want to count like
wasn't.
the marketing. But
It
like,
wasn't
I
like
I
a-
I
think
meant like over the course of the part, like not necessarily like the entire show, but it feels like because of those pacing issues, and it it says things, but it doesn't necessarily have Lloyd have a payoff to where it feels like that part is earned. It's just like, oh, we get that Lloyd went through some sort of spiritual journey, but whenever the source dragons are saying, "Oh, he failed the thing of uprooting, but we'll give him a pass," and then send him out with a dragon form. Like,
yeah, no, the ending is definitely the worst part about it because it does. I understand that it's like he can't pass it in the way that he was supposed to, and so they have to have an alternate success. Like, I'm glad they didn't just make it like Lloyd is so good that he passed it anyway, because that would be equally unsatisfying. But also
Yeah.
the fact that it's just like the source dragons are like, okay, but we like this guy, so we can just pass him through.
Throw
Is
him
what
a
it
bone.
feels like. Maybe that's not what they were going for. I think they wanted it
I
to
just-
be like tying back to the themes with all the connections to the other ninja. But if that were the case, like it shouldn't be just like that they randomly, while they were doing whatever they were doing anyway, happened to beam in because the source dragons connected them or whatever. Like it needed to be a more structured thing where like the rest of the team is trying to help him from the other side, and then the help gets through to him and that's how he passes. Anyway, the ending is messy, and but all in
Right.
all, like it did not, it met expectations for me. It didn't exceed them at all, but given the show's history, like this is kind of what I was expecting going in, and I got it, and it was fun. So
Fair.
all wins all around for me.
Honestly, I feel pretty much the same about it. It's like it's a good time. Good times
You
all
know,
around.
maybe if the villain actually tied into Lloyd's story, maybe
Mhm.
that could have been the final
Hmm.
push to
So
actually
true.
Maybe.
That would have
Mhm.
been nice.
have it
There's
mean
lots of ways to
something.
plus it
No,
up.
but we got
For
we got
real.
evil Lloyd to spell out all the things that have already been dug into our brains over the last
Uh,
few seasons, over
Yeah,
and over and over
it's
and
like
over
he
and over.
says, it's like he said it, but do the writers actually do anything to like expand upon it? No. Like,
Nope.
but every time that he does, it kind of, especially one like the Cole is the better leader than you
Oh yeah.
line,
That was a
kicked
good
me
line.
in the butt. It punched
For
me in the
real.
gut because I'm not gonna lie, he's not wrong. Like literally almost every time that Cole has been either by himself or in the leader of a team off into the side, whether it be Tournament of Elements, Master of the Mountain, Day of the Departed, even, no matter how much we dislike or like that special, um, the Finders, just anytime that Cole is like the leader of a team, he always wins somehow. But but Lloyd knows it. It's in his brain. It's right there. They set it up. And it's one of those things where it's like those lines do punch you in the gut, and then they never talk about it later. And they're like, "Oh, that's what the nostalgia bait is for, I guess."
It-
But it's not technically nostalgia bait because they make good points that they just don't talk about, and it's
It's just
frustrating.
it's one of like the most
Yeah.
hollow examples of like the dark reflection trope I've ever seen, which is so upsetting because I love that trope. I love it so
Yeah.
much. It's like one of my
It's one of
favorite
the
types
best
of
tropes
scenes.
ever.
Literally my favorite episode of Monkey Kid is like that whole trope played
Oh
out
yeah.
to like
So
so
good.
heavily, and it's peak, and it's just like I watch this and I'm just like I want to feel something about Lloyd's character. I want to be having these aha moments. I want to feel like the pain that he's feeling in this moment from hearing all these things that are being said to him, and see how he combats that and see how his mental state conflicts with that. But it's just like it's just so hollow and bland, and like we've
Yeah.
done this.
You know what
The
they
scene
could have
doesn't need to
done?
exist.
It's better than the Phantasm Cave episode, so we're improving.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
are, but at the same time, you know what it could have done? It could have been. Has any of you ever seen WandaVision?
Yes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
have. Yep.
Yes. So imagine Lloyd being drug around by evil Lloyd and showing him all of his failure. Like, that sounds much more interesting than fight scene after fight scene.
But then they would have had
Yeah.
to reanimate all the old footage.
Aw. Too bad we have budgets, I guess.
Would that be more nostalgia bait then?
It would have been, but it would have been service to the
And-
character, like so.
and that's
I would have
the-
been down.
That does bring me back to, because like Cheesy was saying about, you know, it not feeling like nostalgia bait and everything feeling like it has a place. I honestly kind of have to disagree with that. In my opinion, I genuinely
Ooh.
I gotta just walk away, and I feel like, what was the point of young Lloyd other than to just be like, ooh, look, we got young Lloyd back and we got Julia Michaels back. Come watch the season, everyone who hasn't seen Ninjago in forever. Like,
I mean,
I think it was to come to the conclusion that we already knew as an audience, but Lloyd didn't know as a person, which is he's the elemental master of life/connection, and I guess he didn't know that. But
I
I'm
just,
glad he figured it out.
and I felt more of an emotional connection from like Lloyd's childhood, which he lost, than his like angsty teen phase that he never had. Like that was just weird to me. At least with young Lloyd, I was like, I get what they're trying to say.
and they don't.
It's
Oh,
meant to be
my
like
hair looks like
melancholy.
that. No wonder I don't have a girlfriend. Well,
But the thing is, yeah, and it just sucks because they don't lean in on the like lost childhood thing either. Like that could have been an interesting angle.
Yeah.
That could have been
That
a
would
fun
have been
thing to
so
explore.
good, actually.
But
That's something that I thought they
nah.
were gonna maybe do, but
Like that would be the point of returning the character. That's how long young Lloyd could fit into a season and not feel like, oh, we're just bringing this back just to like get people to watch the season out of curiosity. Because that's
Well,
really what it
I
feels
do
like to me
think
here.
like he does fit very thematically. Like young,
Yeah.
like all of the seeds of like his power being connection date back to young Lloyd. All of the like just on a I don't know, and all the imagery with trees and roots. So like even if like you don't have like a super strong in-story plot character reason to have him there, I do think like thematically it's to have him like I you got to have someone taking him through. I guess you don't have to, but it's good to have someone taking him through it. And if you're gonna have somebody do it, different versions of himself makes sense.
So what you're
Yeah.
saying, kid, is it all ties back to roots.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Dareth, what are you doing here?
Dareth
Classic.
taking him through his power would be so great.
Exactly.
oh my god, that would have been so amazing.
Yeah,
It's real.
they did all the setup to make it make young Lloyd like work. They just didn't do anything with it once you get to that point. So it's just like, okay, why did any of this happen? Why did we even have this whole
It happened.
plot?
It happened to happen, and we give Lloyd more trauma and things that he has to face and fail even more at being a leader because of all the Whispering Wood shenanigans.
Yeah.
That's the purpose, I guess. It's
I
all set up.
I
this
hate
point.
to
Yeah.
hate to be like the doomer over here, but
No, well, and this is where it all circles back, and I just say it's there because it's cute. So I think we've covered it. I think we've covered
Yeah,
everything
I
there is to
think-
say about this
I think we
topic.
can move on. I think
Yeah.
a good place to go to spark even more fun conversation would be Jay. What did we think about
Oh,
Jay?
I have a lot to say about that.
Let's go.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
a lot to say.
We know
I
who's
just
starting.
wanna- Yeah,
Who
could I
wants to start?
could I start?
Hmm.
Because
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
quite frankly, my headache is getting worse, and I
I'm
don't know that I'm gonna
sorry.
make it to the end.
Um,
Unfortunately,
sorry.
so let me just like get because this is like really the last big thing I have to say about anything. So like just to recap my opinions about Jay, I never liked Jay. I'm not a Jay enjoyer. I never have been. I feel like he only got worse with time. Like every season he was in, he got less funny. The 11-minute episodes era was like peak unfunny Jay. So like cards on the table, discredit my opinion if you want. I'm a Jay hater. Um, so like for me in Dragons Rising, him losing his memory was like, okay, we can kind of reinvent the character a little bit. And for all of the flaws with season 3, and I even kind of criticized this because it's like I didn't think they went hard enough, but like I thought it was cool how we were kind of getting Jay, but he was a little different. He was a little, a little snarky, a little snide. He kind of had this like thing with Nia where like they were getting on each other's nerves, and I was kind of won over, especially with how it progressed because I really liked how over time it's almost like they were falling for each other again, and I was like, oh, they could do this beautiful thing because everybody loves Jaya, but how they got to be a couple is, let's just say, messy. And I feel
Amen,
like
brother.
nowadays
Amen.
with modern context and modern writers and like the modern show, there could be a nice do-over potential here where they fall for each other again and he becomes a ninja of his own merits and kind of reconciles that he'll never get his memories back. And I thought that would be kind of cool. Bittersweet in a way, but like also beautiful because like him and Nia are soulmates and nothing will ever keep them apart. And like, he's still the same guy, so he would still befriend the ninja. No, instead he just plugs into a machine.
Yep. Yep.
And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, sir.
here we go.
Every season, I am constantly vindicated by my horrid stomach whenever they start making these plot lines because I agree with you, Meso.
It's like
Um,
I feel similarly to how I did about the what was it earlier about the Lloyd thing. Like I didn't like it because for years the showrunners have made it like a mystery when the
Mhm.
end was like very predictable to me.
Yeah.
We all kind of figured Jay would get his memories back, but the fact that they kept it going for so long and the fact that they were seemingly writing this like new role for him made me doubt, and it planted a seed like maybe something interesting will happen here. But the fact that it was resolved in the most predictable way kind
Mm.
of just makes me feel like, what was the point? What was the merit of this journey? What was the moral they were trying to tell?
Okay.
If there was a
For
moral,
real.
what was the
The
journey?
thing,
And the scenes surrounding it were even emotionally well done too. Like
yeah.
they were fine. There were some good performances. Like people acted well. The scene about Jay feeling lonely, looking at like the ninja, making him want to get his memories back. That's fine. That's a good scene. But like, what was the point? I
But
feel
the
like
thing,
years
I
of
agree.
speculation were kind of
Mhm.
just like, I mean, maybe it was our fault for speculating, but now I just feel
Mm.
like a stupid idiot.
Of course.
I feel, yeah. So the thing about it was, during part two, I made it like a specific thing where I basically said that this had the exact same problem as the Lloyd storyline, and that they were too busy having Jay tell us about his plot line rather than us seeing him go through it.
Mm.
And here is the same darn problem again. Like everything that I feared that would happen with Jay, with his storyline about losing his memories. Everything they did, everything that I was afraid that they would do, and that is actively frustrating.
For real.
This was actually the storyline that I was like, okay, I'm checked out. I'm not interested in this anymore. This is just oh, we get that thing. Um I think the only consolation, and I'm basically checking out whenever I say this, is that my expectations are nothing for part 2 when it comes to Jay, unless they bring back that they actually shattered his soul, and them being this happy in part 1 is going to blow up in everyone's faces just like it did, or maybe even more so than whenever they had that fight in the tournament.
Yeah. The thing is that they had an absolute layup to what they could have done and have basically satisfied at least half of those issues. Because during the scene where they're about to like bring back his memories, Nia's like, "Oh, if you're not careful, you can maybe be permanently amnesiac," or like I'm assuming something maybe similar to like just like short-term memory loss or something like that, like more extreme than what he already has. And so you could have easily because like the lesson that should have probably been there is, oh, you don't need your memories to make you have the people who still love you around you. And so it would have been so easy to subvert expectations and actually had the bad thing happen for like the rest, because like it also gets resolved super early too. So like you could have had the bad thing happen for the rest of the season and that be what they're doing for a nice chunk of it, and then by the very end or maybe into part 2, depending on like how much time they had to like resolve it, because I wouldn't want it to be like stuffed in there, have him eventually maybe get back at least his memories up to being the Jay that we know in Dragons Rising. Maybe all of them. I don't really care either way too much, but you could have easily done that and have him learn a lesson that, hey, maybe you should just appreciate the things you have, appreciate the loved ones around you. It sucks and it's scary to have lost something like that, but you're not alone in it. But
cheesy. Will film era flashbacks and a kissing scene though.
True, I do love
flashback was so
Flashbacks and a
distracting.
kiss. Yes.
Oh my
But
god.
we need that definitely.
I mean, that was a wholesome moment.
I mean, the thing is, it's in my
I
brain,
liked it.
a few days ago when I was thinking about the whole situation, I compared it to, if you remember in Seabound, where Jay, it's the time when they're in Merlopia and Nia and Maya are stuck with Calamar and the Hydra Bounty is out of power, and Jay's like, oh, I could go charge the battery, and Pixel's like, no, don't do that. If you do that, you'll maybe die or whatever. But then he's like, I'm gonna go do it anyway. And then we have that whole dramatic scene with the Zayn sacrifice music, and he does the thing, and we're like, oh my god, he might die. I don't know, something might happen. But in the end, he's fine, I guess. It's sort of like that, where it's like, oh, I love me a good dramatic scene so much, but there was really no point here. Nothing happened.
It's also weird because they were not done with it either, because they still are teasing. How'd you even lose your memories in the first place? And I have a nightmarish idea in my head because of that guy from the administration that got away, that seemingly was the one who did it or knew that it was being done. I'm gonna wake up at night terrified because I'm gonna have nightmares about this idea that this entire 4-year long saga was because someone was a Jay super fan and wanted to be best friends with Jay and wiped his memories so they could be best friends with him or something.
Yes, exactly.
So monumentally cringe that I'm gonna cringe out of my skin.
You know what? Yep, that's gonna be the thing. Yeah, because Jay's so lovable because he's actively telling us instead of showing us. Again, fun, awesome. Nice.
So much fun.
I genuinely did like those scenes. They were very wholesome.
They were great.
But at the end of the day, it feels like at the end it really ends up doing nothing because it really just happens because of a flick of a switch and after the memories come back. It's one of those things where it's a great scene, but at what cost?
The great execution
at the cost of
bad idea.
Yeah.
No, for real.
It's because I like Jaya scenes too. I do genuinely like them, despite what my username might be, and I go through a lot of great things about it. It makes me have a kind of perspective that you do also, Meso, because I like it genuinely when they have scenes together. Would I trade anything in the world to never see Seabound again, or Jay going through everything that he goes through and tries to get through and crystallized? Really? No, I wouldn't give up those scenes. But whenever you have a 4-season long arc about Jay and actually doing interesting things with him, and then do the most easiest thing that you could possibly do, it frustrates me.
I mean, you'd think I just feel stupid, to tell you the truth, because if you go back and listen to the other episodes, past me knew this was gonna be how it ended up. I know for a fact there were multiple episodes where I was like, we shouldn't hope for anything from this. It's not gonna be anything. But somehow along the line I suckered myself in, just like I did when Nia died, just like I did when Zayn was the Ice Emperor. I never learn really.
We gotta get back to the status quo.
Ninjago has wonderful writing and great characters and cool lore, but status quo shakeups it does not have. It does not do. It must be more or less maintained. And that's just
frankly,
how it is.
And frankly, I'm not even that opposed to sticking with status quos in
Yeah.
general because I grew up with shows where we didn't have like the luxury of it all being serialized or week by week having it make sense. We just accepted it.
Yeah.
So but at this point, whenever you make the desired choice to write a storyline that might be interesting and you come back to this status quo, you you don't need to have that status quo come back as fast as possible. You could have
No.
easily gotten Jay's memories back like at the end of this season where it doesn't work and Roz still has some kind of control over him and
Mm-hmm.
we can have him go through what he says he went through in those 2 episodes where we don't see him at the end of season 3
I
and
mean,
have him go through that and then just push it along. But ugh,
I would
it's
love to be like a fly on the wall, like in the writers' room,
so
because
would
I
I.
For
know
real.
I know what the thought process was. It doesn't take a genius to figure it out. I just like hearing it said. Like it's just the same thing with Nia dying, the same thing with Zayn being the Ice Emperor, or this. It's too dark. Like kids are gonna be upset if Jay, like their hero, never gets to remember, the love of his life. Or Zayn's gonna be upset if he, dies while being a mass murdering psychopath and doesn't get to go out as a hero. But like I think the thing that is missing from those conversations is that life does not always work out perfectly and
True.
there's beauty in bittersweet things and there's even beauty in melancholy things for
Mm-hmm.
what was once had that's still like precious. And like there could be a bittersweet story where Jay doesn't get his memories back but keeps his relationships, and they're even more meaningful because of that. But shrug, not here. And honestly, it was predictable anyway, so whatever. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
I
Hopefully
will.
Jay's fun. That's all I ask.
Yeah,
I,
I saw the writing on the wall at the end of episode 8 of last season where it's like,
yeah.
"Oh, we're going to have Nia say, "Oh, you can let go of these people and you'll be fine and you'll be a better person, blah blah blah, yada yada." And give another layup of Jay actively pursuing Nia after Nia had already done the work and told him, "Hey, I love you," and he rejected it. And now he's pursuing her again, which would be an amazing thing. But again, it's genuinely like the most predictable storyline in Dragons Rising so far. And I don't think there's even a contest.
No, for real. I will say though that out of the Jay storyline, we did end up getting, and I was saying when I was talking about nostalgia bait earlier that this would be the second half of it. We got a lot of more nostalgia bait-esque moments because I guess he got his memories back, and these ones are
Mhm.
fun, but I don't know if they were worth it. The other ones made sense from like a story context standpoint, but these ones are cute at like some of the
Yeah.
callbacks, but like
And again,
I
we've
would
kind of
trade them
seen this
probably.
before in Seabound. They did this whenever Nia gained her memories back,
Uh-huh.
trying to get back to Jay and the rest of the team in Crystallized. So it's
Indeed.
not like we haven't seen that before either.
Just true.
And like I guess another issue I have with like I guess the Jay storyline, like because we all agree like happened too early, but like I guess another thing is it happened too early in the part itself because it happens in episode 4 and then afterwards
Mhm.
Jay doesn't really have a compelling
Nothing.
conflict right after. He's just sort of there. And like
Yep.
they did kind of introduce something and a refreshing idea where like instead of him just getting all his memories back, like, just with a flick of a switch, it's more so something where he gradually gains those over time. And I do think that is a refreshing idea. I'll give him that. But it's just like other than like one episode where we see that, we don't really see that come into play ever again. And he just exists there
Mm.
afterwards, and that's the rest of his story.
I'm sorry I'm yapping so much about this, but I have a question. I'm hoping
What?
like one of you guys can help me out because maybe I'm just
Yeah.
dumb or maybe I'm just not getting it. The scene with Jay and Rapton, where
Oh,
Jay,
right.
where Jay, and
Yeah.
they're joking like, haha,
Okay.
we did this job together. That one time we like delivered a skull to Shintaro.
Yeah, that doesn't make
I d-
sense.
Am I
No.
missing
from a
something here?
timeline
No,
standpoint. Like technically,
I have
that
like
means either somehow there's another skull of Hazador, if that's the skull that they're referring
There's a backup.
to,
or maybe
there's a
it's just
backup.
one of those things where it's a spirit that inhabits the form of a skull that you need to summon underneath. like it's a summoning thing where it's like, oh, it's the ghost of Hazador, and he shows up as a floating skull. Like that's just it.
Mm.
Like it's not something you can destroy it, but then it's a ghost. You can summon it back.
But that means also at one point Jay and Rabton went to Shintaro and
Yeah.
did not run into Vanya. I guess. There were no questions there.
Well, they
So
could
what's going
technically
on?
even have to. It's right
That's
underneath
true.
the
They're
mountain.
sneaking
It's underneath it, but it's
It's not like we want to be
it's
noticed.
still true.
I don't know. That was just weird. It was like it
Yeah.
was clearly a
Oh.
joke, but like
Yeah,
it just
was
kind
a
of made
joke and
me
callback.
scratch my head. Like, so there's another skull over there for some reason. Like,
It was a very poorly thought out like a callback.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like they did not think that through at all. They were just like, "Oh, the fans would find this cool," not thinking
What's up
about,
with
"Oh
people
yeah, didn't we
trying to
destroy
forget-
that in season 13?"
Yeah, why is there like a whole string of things that people forget about Master of the Mountain specifically?
I don't
It's
know.
like, that skull's gone. Okay, well, what about Princess? She's queen now.
Queen
Dang it.
now.
No. They said it's Princess Vanya. Actually,
I'm
isn't that cool?
crying.
Ugh,
Good job, Ninjago. We love
Good
consistent
job.
writing.
the only thing I can hope for at this point is if part 2, the reason why everything is so happy between Jania and the rest of the team is just gonna blow up in everybody's faces because of rocks.
I mean,
That's my final hope.
I'd hope so because we're
That's
getting
my
toward the
final hope.
end. If that doesn't
Yeah.
happen, then there'll be no character stakes. Maybe I don't know. Or
I
not
have
the
no
lot.
expectation for that. I don't think
That
anything's
would,
gonna happen.
yeah, I don't think anything's
Plus,
gonna
like,
happen.
the only way to
if they surprise
We
activate
can
us by
dream.
saying-
Yeah, we can dream.
Plus, the only way to activate it is you have to put on the mask for like the gong to work its magic. Like then season 2 made a point of showing us that, and unless the next part decides, oh, we're just gonna retcon that now, which wouldn't surprise me if Ninjago went that route.
My
then,
hopes for Jay.
I don't see that. I don't really see that happening.
Yeah,
To be honest,
he wins
but-
the award for the most disappointing storyline in Dragons Rising for any of the original Ninja.
My hopes for Jay
And
at
that
this point
includes
are
Zayn.
just like make him funny and give me another cool dance with Nia. That's all I ask.
Yeah, that's fair.
Electric
Okay.
J that's gonna come back.
All right, fine.
I mean, the J bit disappointed us, but like, I mean, at least we got some really awesome pixel scenes.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we got
She was
one.
done very well in
minutes
this
of screen
season.
time
so good.
saved the
Oh.
The
whole
one
season.
scene. The one
Yes.
scene. I'm crying. I love Pixel so
No,
much.
but-
I know I'm not the only big Pixel fan now in this group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, she's
I
like
love Pixel.
Like for real though.
Pixel.
For
I wish.
real, being completely serious. What was she doing?
Nothing.
What could she have
She
been
was-
doing?
If
She
this does not
was
come
on
back,
vacation.
like if this does not come back as a plot point that something was happening, what? Because the other thing is, I thought maybe like that she just wasn't going to be at the end of the season, and it was going to be a plot thread that they were going to have to go find her because something had happened. It was set up for future. No, she
Yeah.
was in the monastery at the end of this season, fine with
She
nothing
was
to
just
say.
vibing.
She was just
Nothing
chilling
eventful
there.
happened while she was out. Like, is she an imposter? Is that where
No,
we're at?
what's
right
funny
now?
is this isn't the
Yeah.
only time in history this has ever happened either. Remember,
True.
like Krabby, she just like disappeared for a whole episode in like Sons of Garmadon, and then was just
Yeah.
there later. Like, she
I
they
feel-
have a habit of doing this.
I feel like because a friend of me and Kevin and Crystal mentioned or the idea that it would have maybe been fun to have Pixel show up with Cole at some point, like maybe catch up with him because he was on his own the whole time anyway. But like, no, I guess she was off doing something else or whatever. I don't.
She was having
She's
a fun air balloon ride. That's the
It would
story.
have killed
So,
to have Pixel with the kids. That would have
yeah,
been
that would have been nice
such
too.
a good setup.
Would have been
Pixel's
any of the
babysitting
things.
adventure.
Can I just say that I feel like Cole was like my favorite part of the season?
Well,
It was
Cole's
so
always good
good.
though. Cole is
Oh my
never
God.
not
I
good
kind
half
of
the
love
time.
I love the
Like,
Cole characterization this season, and we got more of him
Oh,
yapping
God.
to himself. It was so great.
yeah.
That was good.
Classic
so
Cole.
happy.
It was
Classic
funny.
Cole.
I agree.
Oh my God.
That was
know,
my
it was
highest
just-
peaks of enjoyment. Was the season was Cole
Yes.
quipping.
Even though it happened and it did nothing for the plot
Yeah,
other
no.
than he got a power up, it was still easily
There-
one of the most enjoyable things about the season, period.
For real.
I genuinely love Cole in this show. I do. He's, oh my God.
He's honestly
uh,
the least problematic character of the show, I think, in terms of like
Yes.
characterization or things going on
Ugh.
with him.
Uncancelable.
Worst thing he
Yes.
did was not tell us about what he did when he went on his side quest till like way later and we didn't see it. But
Yeah.
other than that, he's done nothing wrong. He's just good.
Yeah. He's just straight up vibing with his kids and his month's pseudo husband that will probably go nowhere. But
Months and Gecko mix.
True. Get it right.
yes. No, he's got the coloring of a gecko but he's a month. Yes.
I thought of a way they could fix the pixel thing next season.
How so?
What if she was like tailing Roz?
Ooh, that'd be
Like
good.
what if the next
They would've
season she's
told
like
someone. That's
I've
the
been
thing.
a-
Because you can do that if if
Yeah.
you don't have her painting happily, nothing bothering her at the end of the season. But we
That's true,
do.
that's true.
So as
I
much as
kinda
I
ruined
love that scene, it would kind of be better if it wasn't there because it would leave the door open for so much more.
It's
Yeah,
true.
that's fair.
Completely kills a lot of the benefit of the doubt I had for them about Pixel's characterization because it just confirms that she did nothing all season, and the one thing we know Pixel doesn't do is just
Is
do
nothing.
nothing.
Your
So-
video
This.
Ugh.
your video
100%.
just becomes more like relevant with time. Like
Yeah.
it ages like wine.
I mean, since
Jeez.
I guess since we mentioned Pixel, I guess I don't know. I kind of liked Zayn this time
Oh
around.
my god, I am
Zayn was
Alright.
great
so
too.
glad Zayn is more than whatever the heck he has been for like the last 5, 6, 7 seasons.
He's
Like,
alright.
depends
I
on
know.
who you ask.
Yeah.
I was.
I-
He was not
I don't know.
horrible.
Like I was kind of
It was
sitting
just
there.
good. I don't know
Yeah.
that we about it like a lot of the fandom has been. It was
Just
good.
like,
It
yeah,
was
Pixel just
not
brings that
actively
out
bad.
of him. He actually
That's fine.
actively needed Pixel for stress relief. Like,
It's one of those things where like I feel bad just complaining all the time. So I'm like, yeah, I like the Zayn stuff, but then like the voice in the back of my head is like, they wrote him out just so they could have him come back and act completely different and act like he's changed as a person. But like that's just because they shipped him off, and then it would have been nice
Put
to
him on
see
the
him
bus.
change on screen. But whatever, it was fun.
Mhm.
It was
I
fun.
mean, like,
Character arc on screen. What?
never. We
alright.
can have that
Out.
in my Ninjago.
He was
but,
funny.
like-
He made me laugh. He's good.
I
yes,
feel like
he was a genuinely calming presence
for
in
real.
for characters who really genuinely needed it.
Mm.
I think it's okay if it genuinely like has a purpose. Like, I truly believe that Zayn and his characterization had a point in that it led us into good things with Aaron and Euphrasia and Lloyd, that it felt like he actually had a thing that he could bounce off other characters with without getting into the main trappings that they themselves have done and still at the same time still made fun of for doing previously back in season 1.
Yeah.
But genuinely, this is one of the better outings for Zayn that we've had in a while, especially in Dragons Rising.
Definitely.
And
Oh, yeah.
even though that storyline didn't happen in front of us, I think
I'll
that
take it.
not happening in front of us, I take it because of how much
Yeah.
it gave Aaron and Lloyd.
The
agree.
results were really nice. Part of me really wonders from like a meta-textual standpoint, because we know that many years ago on Twitter or Blue Sky, I don't remember which, someone was like, "Hey, can you fix Zayn?" And then Doc was like, "Oh, it's something to that effect." But basically, it was alluded to that Zayn would be written better as a character at a certain point. And a lot of us thought that it would have maybe been season 3, especially because he was the box ninja, and they sort of like alluded to the fact that he'd be sort of maybe important in some way, shape, or form.
Why
And he
was the box
wasn't.
ninja.
He
I'll never
wasn't.
understand.
But like then this season, it feels like that's really where that came into effect. So I guess piggybacking off the phrase of I really wish I was a fly on the wall of the writers' room, because I really wonder when that switch actually happened. Was it season 3 where they were talking about it then, or was it here? And season 3 was just what they were doing with him prior as well before all
They need
that.
to hire a fan
interesting.
consultant. They do
Yeah,
that
we
now.
could do that.
Maybe.
I mean,
get
some
me in the
places
writers'
do.
room, please.
Sonic
Thank you, guys.
franchise has one of those now, and it's doing them good. So,
Nintendo save us.
It's like, maybe we
Let
should
me
do
cook.
this
Maybe-
plotline. Oh, you did it 3 years ago. Okay.
Just get
Erase it.
get Joshua Deck to do the Jin lore.
Yes.
Did I ever
we
talk
need
to
Josh
Josh
as
in
the
a
lore
while?
consultant.
Fallen Wishes, the travesty known as Fallen Wishes, would
Oh,
not have happened.
there was
if he
no
was in the
Jin
writers'
content this
Definitely.
season. That's why it's better than season
I haven't heard from Josh in a while. I gotta ask what he thinks of the Whispering Woods.
3. Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Oh boy. Were there other big topics?
Frak.
Frak.
wait,
Frak.
Oh yeah,
Frak.
Oh yeah,
talk
like
about Frak?
the best part of the season.
Frak! The best part of the season we still have to talk about.
Oh my god.
Yes, there are 6. Why are we always forgetting about Frak?
Nah, so
Justice,
anyway, I'm about to go back to
Forgotten
complaining
Frak.
about Jay for another like hour. That's who needs Frak?
Oh,
No, I'm
honey, I
kidding.
do that for like 3 hours. Come on.
No, Frak was very, very, very well done. And it wasn't
Yeah.
even like the craziest thing in the world either, but like simplicity sometimes works because it's relatable and relatability is important.
There's an
You know, it's
applicable
kind of
real
the
life message.
yeah, like with
Yeah.
Sora
Oh,
and
yeah.
her situation.
I missed those. I missed when that happened.
I genuinely
Relatability in my Ninjago?
yes.
There's nuance in my Ninjago.
Yes. Like I genuinely think this is like one of my favorite storylines of the season. I genuinely like all of the characterizations and how it doesn't feel like this section where they were at Umbra Sylvis. Is it called? Is that
Yeah.
that the name of the
That sounds
town or
right.
whatever? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome. So, each one of these characters in Number Sylvis had their time to shine. They genuinely had a lot of dispersed storylines. It kind of passed from like Wildfire to Sora a little bit, and then finally to Frak. And I think genuinely we like discuss like the cons of dividing and conquering when it comes to we'll have a Lloyd thing, we'll have a Frak thing, and we'll have a J thing. Like that's and then all the pros and cons that happen because of those things. And genuinely, I was rather shocked at how much nuance this storyline has and how much there is really left to tell that springboards into the rest of the season. I'm growing to like Sora and Frak, which I thought I didn't
Me
think
too.
that I would
And
genuinely
stay winning.
I
This is the season of
yeah,
love.
stay winning. I think Kit, I think you should take over this. You should gush.
Well, they were adorable. I liked they fixed all of the worries that people had, that it was like it was too on the nose, and it was. I think people who say that like Frak obviously or Sora obviously didn't like Frak in season 3. I'm like, that I don't think that's how they were playing it. But like they fixed they gave like they toned down, like there isn't even any overt. If you don't watch season 3, I don't know necessarily that you would pick up that there was like ship content going on here until the
you
very
wouldn't
end.
at all.
Yeah.
Oh.
So like and so it builds very natural, and they're like in this high stress situation, so you can kind of believe that like his crush isn't the top of mind because he's also got his dad he's dealing with, and it just allows them to like interact as real characters who have real overlapping issues and varying ideas about the similar issues that they face, and they're able to talk about them in a genuine way, and in a very again like just simplified way that makes it really really easy for kids to grasp, which I love it so much when this show has messages for the kids in the audience. I eat it up so bad, and it's part of why the J plot line is so annoying.
Like
Makes me
I
mad.
can even
Yeah,
add,
definitely.
I can even add to that because a lot of people were saying was like, oh, the Frak and Sora thing back then in season 3 was incredibly forced because it was like, oh, they just dropped that Frak was attracted to Sora and thinking that that was just like, oh, that's just a forced slop thing that we were given, but no, it's just they drop the hint that he is attracted to Sora, but they still at the end of the day give Sora and Frak so many scenes where they're bantering and actually have different ideas about things, which ends up really, like I said earlier in this podcast, where they were talking about, oh, you should just tell them off, you should just tell your father how you feel and stand up to him. Well, some of us have loyalty for our family, and he storms off.
Banger line.
And then we have genuinely like the cute scene of them talking in the hallway with their giant boards around their necks, trying
Boards
to
all
squeeze
season,
through
man.
the same and squeezing through the same thing, and they're like genuinely like giggling and having like those subtle things of just like there's something here and it's subtle, but the romance isn't taking away from the character journey that Frak and Sora are going
It's
through.
interwoven together,
And
which makes
it's
it work so much better.
Yes, and I'm gonna throw Jay under the bus. I'm so sorry. This is so much better than First Bitten Twice
Yes.
Shot.
Yes.
Twice Shy
100%.
by a
Yes.
mile. You're constantly bombarded with moments where Jay is obviously attracted to Nia over and over and over and over again, to the point where Nia ends up feeling like she's the secondary party of something that she genuinely wants, and that had been a problem for about a decade. And they fix all of those problems with these two characters in what, a 3 to 4 episodes span? That's crazy.
Which
Well, it's
could have just
because,
been
like,
condensed into a one episode if the pacing on
No,
this show
yeah.
was any good.
It,
But-
it could have been for sure. I mean, I wasn't even one of the people because like a lot of people were really like, and your video did a good job spelling it out, Kit. Like there were a lot of people very like annoyed at the whole Frak and Sora thing last season, and I never really understood why. Because like, if you're a fan of Ninjago up to this point, that was like tame. And even then,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with doing like romance stories. It's just like it has to be done well. It has to be, you know, written well. It can't be overbearing. And I think like the progression's very natural. It's like guy has a crush, girl kind of finds him annoying, but they bicker and like maybe it could be something. Now they like genuinely like bond and form a connection there. And then like, okay, cool, meaningful storytelling. I like it. Fun,
Agreed.
engaging. If anything, I kind of wish Frak and Aaron had more interactions because
We were robbed of a reunion scene between the two of them. They have not seen each other like since
That's
the tournament.
true.
they
And
didn't
they
even
don't
talk.
even talk to each other. They don't hug. They not these forever
Talk about
friends.
best
They're always
friends,
best
gosh.
friends.
It's very weird.
That did bother me quite a bit.
Speaking
I mean, I guess like
of,
for me, like the I guess for me, my issue with Frak in season 3 was like that's all we get with Frak is just like the relationship stuff. When you could also
yeah,
tie in like the post Roz training
Yeah.
That's
to
true.
what's going on with Aaron
Yeah.
there. But nah, they're just like we'll focus the first 2 and last 2 episodes with Frak on the whole romance thing and nothing else, and one scene
fair.
in episode 9, and that'll be it. But like
Yeah.
to go back to this season though, um I do agree with like pretty much a lot of what you guys are saying. Like I think Frak is definitely a standout character, or one of the standout characters of this part of the season here. And that really reassures me because like ever since his like his appearance in season 3, like the first episode, and that surprise of seeing him be part of the team, which did feel kind of random and out of nowhere, but even then in that first episode, I did see potential, like especially with like that dynamic with Sora, because like even though the bickering I think was quite heavy-handed given all the screen time he got in that season, I could see like okay, this could be a nice like back and forth between the two, especially since they're both like Aaron's friends as well, like his closest
hmm
friends. And so it'd be nice to see that dynamic. And I feel like this season is where they fully realize that now, where we see these two really bond, they challenge each other and help better each other as well. And that's something I really, really appreciate. And like, I love seeing Frak just have like an emotional story finally. And like regarding his dad, and I love how they really do a good job in really showing the complexities of that relationship between the two, especially through Frak's side as well, and how he's like initially hesitant to really stand up to his dad. And you definitely get a lot more, I guess, like subtlety and nuance in this kind of story than I think of the rest of the stories that the season offers. And I do think that's what makes it so compelling and so interesting. And I guess if there's one thing I want to see, I guess from now on, is for them to keep doing that,
hmm
for characters, but at the very least, do it for Frak as well, because I'm sure
Yeah.
this is not going to be the last time
Dude,
we're going to see his
it
dad.
just
Yeah.
proves how well they can write stuff,
hmm
but they just rarely do it for like the old ninja, because they've been so like thoroughly mined already for like character stuff. They kind of they've run out of ideas, I think. But like with new characters with a fresh slate, like because it was beautifully layered too, I gotta say. At first with Frak and his dad, it's like you have the angle about like family loyalty and being blind to when you're in like an abusive situation because you just want to like be loyal to your parent, and like they really lay it on thick with how much of a jerk his dad is. But then like over the course of the episodes, once Frak like Sora plants the seed and then Frak starts thinking about it, and then the later episodes happen, and then it's like all that resentment and all that like hurt that he bottles up comes spilling out because he'd been denying it for so long, and now he's like, yeah, I'm sure my dad is like the guy. I'm positive of it. And then like the cherry on top was the dad's perspective too, because like obviously he's made like bad choices and he is a jerk and he is a bad father, but like there was that seed of like his rationale which made him a three-dimensional character instead of a
hmm
caricature.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have to do that. They could have just had him be like a jerk for
Yeah.
no reason, but they did it.
Exactly like
I think
Sora's parents. And
like there's like I think that also makes it hit harder as well. Like, yeah, he is a terrible father, and quite frankly, you would be a terrible person to be around. But like, I guess like in his own mind, he doesn't really see himself as like a terrible person. And like, you do get to see like I guess more underneath him regarding like, what he had to go through and like all the sacrifices he's had to made and whatnot. And like that is that also I think makes it hit even harder once we do see like Frak come into conflict with that and hit him back with like, okay, I understand, went through all that, but that doesn't make it right for my upbringing. And I think
Yep.
that really really made it so much more just engaging to watch.
And people are also pointing out on the internet whenever the season dropped that, oh, no wonder that he was so perceptive to Roz and so wanted
mhm.
to make sure that, like, strength, yes, that's exactly what I have. Those are the things that I admire because of all the things that I had to go through as a person, and why Frak was so susceptible to Roz and his teachings is because of his dad. And and when Roz comes back and Lloyd has been corrupted because of Roz, and it's basically like Frack teaching him those things that ended up leading him even being closer to Roz, is even more big character moments that they could flesh out in part 2 if they choose to.
I
Indeed.
mean, also, it not only recontextualizes why he even came to Roz in the first place and why he willingly worked with them, but I also think it recontextualizes episode 2 of season 3, where he's trying so hard to prove himself to the ninja and Sora, and
Oh, for
because
sure.
we see like the insecurities, we see how he is very um like how he's someone who's very unsure about himself, and so he tries to overcompensate. And I think having this context now makes that episode, or at least like his appearance in that episode, so much more um like it adds so much more drama to it, adds so much more angst and like depth to it. And
Yeah,
I
and
really appreciate it for adding that much more emotional value to it. Like
Mhm.
and
that
it
is
also adds
genius.
even more context to season 2 whenever he leaves Roz. Because you could have somebody say, or even like Sora say, hey, you left Roz. Why can't you leave your dad? It was like you used him to like replace him and do all of these things, and it recontextualizes that relationship and what he can do versus what he can't do. And then Frack seeing Sora's parents actually be that awful and being like, oh yeah, maybe I do need to be those things more
No,
often.
I really do. They threaded the needle pretty well. I have a couple of nitpicks, but for the most part, I think they did a really good job of making Reginald just the most unlikable guy, but also like you can tell like there is room for him to be redeemed. They
Mhm.
long term want their relationship to be patched up. Um because you have really the thing is that like he's the one who approaches Frack and is like, "Hey, like are we good? It seems like we're not good. Am I doing something wrong? Is there whatever?" And it's like that's something that Sora's parents would never do. And
Mhm.
so that's like you can see the seeds and you still get to have Frack have his moment of putting his foot down and being like, "No, this is unacceptable," and walking away, and that's where it's left for the season, which like holy cow. But also you have that door open, and also he's fun in the way he is mean, as opposed to
Yeah.
Sora's parents who
He's
just
fun to
suck.
hate.
He's fun to hate.
Yes.
Sora's parents I could never see again, and that would be the best case scenario because I
Mhm.
hate
Yeah.
them
Oh,
Do
genuinely.
we think
I
there
was
is
I was
even
yelling. I was saying "f you" to them every time they popped up on screen,
It's
and
like,
I was
no.
just I like literally I texted my friend watching this like watching the finale, and I was just spamming that, and I was so angry that they
well,
thought I
get
was
hype
talking about them, not
get hype for the
the
next
parents.
part because they're back.
If they unravel Sora's story, I'm going to.
Dude,
Crash
you
out.
you
I
were
don't
all
I
I
I have
don't
could
an
think
think
it
interesting
about.
will.
theory actually
There's
about
some
the
good things that
Sora
they could.
parents.
If they go back on that, I'm.
I hope not. Like that would be
You
the
were the
worst
first
case
person I
scenario.
Don't
thought
think they
about,
are.
but no, I don't think they are either.
I don't think
I hope
I
not.
don't think they are, but the fact that the chance is there.
I feel like
Yeah.
the closest we're gonna
I
get with that is like, oh, they somehow manipulate Sora in some form of way, and then she ends up doing something that she wouldn't have normally done, and instantly is like, oh no, I didn't want to be a part of this, and basically that. I think that's
I
the
I
worst thing
I
that's
really
gonna
genuinely
have
get.
the here's my thought process on how they're gonna like handle the parents, because in the middle of the season we were like following Aaron's parents, and they were like talking about, oh man, the merge really has changed up our lives and whatnot, and then they mentioned the ninja parent support group,
I
and
need it. I need it in my life.
my thinking about that is they're gonna actually go through with that, and that's how we're
Please.
gonna bring in Reginald back into the story. That's how we're gonna bring in
God.
like Sora's parents. And my
Mhm.
thinking is we're gonna see two juxtaposed storylines where we see like Sora's parents seemingly want to, I guess, better themselves or claim that, oh, we're changing ourselves, for you. While we have Reginald actually going through the effort and actually trying to do that change.
Ah.
And it would be
Parallel
nice to parallel
storyline.
concurrent
Yeah.
My
story
God.
happen, see develop throughout.
Fuck me.
We need
I'd
Ray
love
and Maya
that.
back to be in the support group.
Yeah, we need
Please,
to.
Ray and Maya and Ed
Ray
and
and
Edna.
Maya and Ed and Edna. Ed and Edna needs to see Jay immediately, like right now.
Cyrus
What
board.
They need
happened to
to-
Ed and
Oh my god,
Edna?
yes,
to go
Cyrus
over there.
Borg, yes, please.
Cyrus needs to show
When
up,
was the
and
last time
then
Ed and Edna showed up besides the Nia funeral?
That's
That's
it.
a good
Uh,
question.
At the
That-
time, wait,
they showed
I
up.
don't know.
in
They showed up for the
Hampton? I don't remember.
crystallized finale, but they never spoke.
Oh yes, my favorite, Roots.
Ugh.
Who doesn't love Roots?
It's
You
like they
know-
need to
Episode
see
of
their
all
boy
time.
immediately.
If nothing
Um,
else, there's going to be a great fanfic that somebody writes where
Mhm,
literally
mhm.
all of the ninjas' parents are just doing a therapy session.
Oh.
And I
See,
can't wait to read it.
That would be
Misako,
awesome.
Misako and Garmadon, Ray and Maya, Lou.
Garmadon's not going to show up. Let's be real.
Gosh,
and Edna.
showing up would be so
Ugh.
funny though.
It was like, oh,
Can you
oh,
imagine
so
those
I'm not
characters?
allowed to show up at the parents'
Dude, can
support
you imagine all those characters interacting with each other? That would be the greatest scene ever made. That would be
So
like,
Good.
You showed up for others people's parents, but not your own son? Shut up. Be quiet, boy. I'm speaking. Then he moves on.
dude.
So
I would like Misako to give a thrashing on Reginald because she is in
Mhm.
the Explorers Club and she is not like that.
They probably know each other already.
Yes, exactly.
Dude, that's peak.
So, in the
my
interest
God.
of moving towards wrapping up, since we've been
Yes.
going for a while,
I'm dying.
I do have one more topic that I think we should briefly discuss because I think it warrants a mention, and
Sure.
that is, oh my God, the animators were cooking with this season.
Oh my
No,
god.
really.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
so
my God.
good.
There was a post. I don't know if you had seen it, but there's like a specific post that got like thousands and thousands of views.
Oh, I
and
saw.
it was just it was just a compilation of almost all of the fight scenes that we got this part. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's Ninjago! What are you talking about?"
It
I'm
managed
like,
to break
"Yeah."
out of like the fandom space and into like the broader like animation community, which I
Mhm.
think is a very good thing.
Me
Yeah,
too.
it was number 10 on Netflix for all of the TV shows. Not just kids shows, because that was number 1, obviously, like it always has been. But like number 10 most watched Netflix show in its first week.
Stuff like that makes me feel like Ninjago is never going to die in both the best and the worst ways. And I'm fine with that. Ninjago never quits.
Yeah, I think
Friends come and go, but Ninjago is forever.
the season as a whole didn't really leave much of an impact on me, but I will say like the animation and the action and just like the direction of everything, just everything from a visual standpoint looks
Mhm.
so good this season, so phenomenal. Everyone who worked on it should be incredibly proud because they
Agreed.
did a great job.
For
and
real.
I think that deserves to be highlighted because it's just
You are very right.
the quality
There was,
bar has
like-
already been pretty high for Ninjago animation ever
Mhm.
since like the switch to Wild Brain, but like man, the season brought it to a whole
Yes.
other level of quality.
I will
Definitely.
also add that not only was the action really good, but even a lot of the small scenes, the subtlety and animation of their faces, specifically in scenes where they're together and actually having like these small moments of just talking
Mhm.
and genuinely having that. Aaron specifically, I'll pick out a few scenes. Definitely like the small like romantic tension scenes that occurred between one Aaron and Euphrasia
We never talked
Yeah.
about them.
They're amazing.
cute.
They're so
Air
cute.
shipping for the win. They're adorable.
Best
Fandom
Dragons
plus
Rising
mine.
ship by
The
far.
the Frak
Agreed.
and Sora thing, uh, the kiss between Jaya, both of them were absolutely wholesome. Uh, I, uh, I just loved all the subtle animation things that were happening between two or more characters, and genuinely expressive, and I love that about that. That was great too.
Definitely.
Agreed.
There was a person who was talking to fans who animated a lot of those scenes, and there is in-house a couple of people that have told us already that yeah, we're specifically going through like animation direction and saying, hey, these scenes need to like be, they need to up the affection because we haven't seen that much of it before.
Hmm.
So that's genuinely a great part of it too. I love that about
No,
this.
absolutely. Like it feels like, as someone that watches Ninjago like all the time, I've, and I mean this as a compliment, I've just kind of gotten used to it. The production values have been improving so much for so many years, ever since like the 11-minute era, where like you had the fluid choreography and beautiful animation, but like it really has entered its like absolute peak,
Mhm.
where the lighting has caught up to the animation and the textures have caught up to the expressiveness of like the faces. And when it breaks out of the fandom space and people are like, that's Ninjago, that looks nothing like how I remember, that's really cool to see.
Yeah,
Because it's
awesome.
like, wow, how far we've come, huh?
Yeah, no, we've come a long way, and stuff like that just
That's
makes me
great.
really happy. I wish the the writing was as good as the animation, but
Yeah.
there will be a season in the future where I'm sure that's true. So
We're in
I
a
am
time
excited.
loop. We're
The-
gonna get a really great
Yeah.
season again, and it's gonna be followed by a really awful season.
the
as
the,
We'll get
always.
the
the thing
account
that makes me
in
so
terms of
happy about
That's
animations
just the
this,
again.
circle of life.
the thing that makes me really happy about this is that it's only going to keep improving. I feel like, so it's like, you know, we're gonna one day see a season that's firing on all cylinders once again, and it's gonna be a glorious moment. Because like I love these fight scenes. I wish they just did literally anything emotional for me. Because like the
Yeah.
animation is awesome, and I'd love to be like cheering and getting up and being all excited about the cool action. But it's just like when the story
It's
behind
like
it is so nothing
the
to me,
animation of
I can't get
season
excited
4.
as much as I want to.
If only every season was like season 2 part 1, then maybe then maybe we
Wow.
could.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Even then, like, well, okay. Was that like the last thing you wanted to mention, Bindo, before like final thoughts?
basically. But if you had a quick thing you wanted to say, then...
No, mine's just kind of about the final thoughts, but it relates
Okay.
very clearly to that line of thinking. So
Then yeah, we can start
Yeah.
with your final thoughts if you'd like to go
thank
first.
you. I mean, like, just to carry that over. I feel like I'm the only one that cares about this as much as I do. So like, I'm weird. I'm sorry. I'm a weird guy. It is what it is. But like, yeah, the animation's really good, but I don't care. That pretty much is me. And in large part, it's because of like who they're fighting.
Hmm.
Because never have there been more boring villains than the elemental manifestation things. I don't even know what to call them. What are they?
Elemental
Like
monsters.
uh
Yeah,
elemental
they're just
monsters.
yeah, they're
Like
just monsters to fight.
they're just monsters to fight, and like, okay, sure, that's fine, but I really don't like them. I feel like a lot of the season was just fighting them. If you tally up the amount of runtime that was either like chasing these things or fighting these things or talking about these things, it's a lot of time. And because they're just monsters, they have like no characterization. They have no link to anything or anyone. It's not like they're an army of anyone. Well, they didn't start that way anyway. And then, when they eventually become Beatrix's army, I mean, like we said at the start, Beatrix herself is kind of not the best. So, a boring army being controlled by a boring character, I was just kind of checked out for like large parts of the season because the animation's beautiful, but then you just kind of get used to it, and then I go into this trance-like state
Mhm.
where I'm like, oh, they're making him disappear.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Lloyd's got a tail now. He's got claws. Ooh, now
That
he's hitting them.
that whole finale, like I think the last 2 episodes, I felt so like my brain felt numb.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
because after a while, it's just a bunch of fighting, and like I thought there were too many of the monsters in the sets, and then there's ones in the show that aren't even in the sets, like the ice guys. I'm like, dude, how many are there gonna be? Um, and like that kind of I think ties in the animation metaphor, you could say, is very applicable for the season. It's not like there's not good stuff there. The animation's beautiful. There's really good emotional moments, some really good character work, some cool lore. There's a lot to like here, so it doesn't surprise me that a lot of people are happy with it. And I wish I felt the same, but I just feel kind of empty. And I think for me, the reason I feel kind of empty is because those great things in isolation, for me personally, they don't make a great whole because they don't like combine together in something super meaningful to me. I can't really appreciate the animation because the people that are fighting and the plot that's carrying those fights doesn't support it. I can't really get invested into the emotional moments like the J stuff because the arc that is being in that those emotional moments are being used to support doesn't really do anything for me. The actual plot itself with the Lloyd stuff is cool, but it's isolated from everything else. And also, it's not anything super revolutionary. Like, it's just copying the Lego Ninjago movie's homework. The Beatrix stuff was whatever. I feel like she's less interesting than she was in season one. We got no answers to anything. We got like vague hints. We didn't even talk about the stupid weapon of desolation. I'm not even gonna bother
Yeah.
trying to think about how that thing came into being and why. I don't know. Like there was some lore reason given, like they had to split it apart. I don't
And
care.
why it worked on some characters but ended up giving Cole a power up for some reason. Like that
I
was
mean,
confusing as heck.
whatever. Lloyd, I mean, Cole was just smart, I guess. Like he figured out how to tap into it. Like Cole's a smart guy. I can
Cole's the
see
goat. We
that.
could just talk about that.
Yeah, like
Indeed.
that's fine. There's a lot of like weird stuff, but there's also a lot of good stuff. And I'm certainly not going to say this season was terrible. I think it was fun and there's a lot to enjoy, but we're nearing the end and I think I'd like to start getting some answers, and I think we are going to. I think that they were teasing that really weird realm, I think, is important because the realm where all their wishes were being granted, that's the same place the Shadow Dojo is in. That's the same place that Roz went to. That's the same place where the Weapon of Desolation was, like, where they learned about it. And then, like, I don't know. I think that realm is important. I think that's where
I
like Roz's master probably is.
I think it's beautiful that
Yeah.
the season ends at Rosette Shadow Dojo.
Yes.
Roz
We've
at the
really come
Shadow
full
Fantastic.
Dojo
circle.
Temple.
Yes.
So I had a lot of thoughts, I guess, in the end, but each individual plot and each like cool moment I feel also has like a negative kind of weighing against it. So my net total is like 0. Literally except for Frak. That's like the thing that's
Yeah.
like unambiguously cool. Uh, but yeah, overall, I have no clue where I'd rank this. Not even gonna try.
Valid.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess I can go next. I don't know. Does anyone else want to go next?
I
You
guess
go.
I mean I'd like to echo some of the stuff they said because I largely agree with it. Like I think I enjoyed each of the individual arcs. Like which is kind of a first for me with Dragons Rising because typically there's usually a couple of story arcs that I find very underwhelming or just not good. But this
Mm.
time around, every single one of them, with maybe the exception of the Beatrix one, I actually was very engaged with and very invested in. The problem is even though they were individually like engaging arcs, they never really came together as a singular cohesive plot. And so I think that is ultimately my biggest issue with the season, which is that it is quite messy and it is quite disjointed. And
Indeed.
while there's a lot of interesting conflicts and a lot of cool premises that the season throws at us, I do think it does sort of fumble a lot of it towards the end of its story and towards the end of the finale, which, to be honest, I think the finale was pretty weak. Like those last two episodes for me are the weakest episodes of the season here. And I like as the story continues on and as the like plot lines keep progressing, you just see a lot of it diverge from each other, and that's why it's sort of a disconnected mess, in my opinion. With that said, though, this is still better than season 3, in my
Definitely.
opinion. Like there were a
Yes.
lot more interesting story arcs and characters going on at the very least. We mentioned it way early in the video, but one of my favorite aspects is the character moments. Like I do think they did a good job in making every single ninja shine this time around, which was a huge surprise to me.
Pixel especially.
For 2 minutes of
You make
screen
me
time
cry.
saved
So
us.
good.
No, you're right though. You're right.
But like also like Frak definitely went up high on my ninja tier list if we ever made
Mhm.
that. Easily the best character of this season, and it was nice to see like a lot of those character bonds and those dynamics form with each of the ninja. So I really enjoyed that. But like you said, while there's a lot of great aspects of the story here, I do
Yeah.
think it does unfortunately suffer a lot of issues that sort of carried over from season 3, in my opinion, like the messy plot and the very like large cast, which I do think which is sort of why I feel like it struggled as much as it did here, and also the pacing too. But
The cast is out of control.
Yeah.
Like,
and
thank
they're
you
probably
for
gonna
bringing
add
that up.
Euphrasia by the end of it too. So
No,
it's not
yeah,
gonna
as far
get
as I'm
better.
considering, she's already like a main character now. Like I thought the point of this whole endeavor was to like rotate out the old cast, but now they're like more entrenched than ever, and there's like
Everybody's
twice as
here.
many of them as there
Mhm.
used to be. I don't
Yeah.
know how they're gonna resolve this going forward.
Yeah, I think it's just something we're just gonna have to deal with now, which is unfortunate. But I guess if I were to rank this, easily above both parts of season 3, but
Mhm.
right behind everything else is
Hmm.
where I would rate it. It's
A
like
take.
a 7 out of 10 for me.
Valid and fair. I guess I'll go next this time. I think I'll definitely take the or go from what you were mentioning about character moments. I think this season is probably my favorite in terms of that specifically. And for me, one of my favorite, and I think it's most people's, or a lot of people's at least, favorite part of Ninjago are the characters in a general sense, whether it be their arcs or their small little moments or like their little banters or whatever, what have you. And I think this season, even if not all the arcs had satisfying conclusions or satisfying pieces to them, I think that the moments between them made up for, not for all of it, honestly, for not even probably half of it, but it made up somewhat, at least for me. I don't know. I feel like Dragons Rising for me has had a tumultuous history within my own brain, I guess, where I don't know if there's ever going to be a point in time where I think Kit said it earlier, where Dragons Rising eventually became her show finally, and I don't really know if I've ever really gotten there. I think this might be the closest I've gotten to it, but I feel like at the same time, after a while, I've started to feel, I guess, more and more like not exactly like numb to what's happening with the story and the plot, but like more like, okay, we're on this ride. I guess I'm here to watch the ride. I'll see what happens next. But nothing has really, I guess, penetrated the barrier to where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. I feel that, I guess, connection to the point that I really want to. And I really don't think it's even like a oh, I'm done with like Lego shows, or I'm done with this or that, because again, I started getting into Monkey Kid at the exact same time as Dragons Rising came out, and I had a blast with that show. Don't make me cry, okay? But like, I had a blast with that show, and I feel like there's a myriad of reasons that I still need to pick apart and go back and rewatch and really try to figure out why that connection never really sparked as much as I wish it had. But I guess for the future of what comes next, there are things that I'm definitely excited to see. Like, especially, I want to see what's going on with Sora's parents. I'm excited for the drama. I want to see the fallout. I want to see those moments really come to fruition. At least I hope we get some of those. And I am invested enough to see where Roz's whole plot goes, just because he is literally the only good villain of the show. So I sort of feel like I just want to see where that goes. But overall, I think I had a really fun time. I feel like this season is more like I had a really fun time. Like, I had a pretty fun time with season 3, but without like most of like the really bad caveats of season 3. Like, I can say that I had fun with season 3, but I can also say that, oh no, this was not a good story at all.
Well,
but with this one, I could say that, oh, this was fun. This might not be a perfect story, but it had some pretty good parts of it too. So yeah, that's where I am.
Well said.
Awesome. Okay, I'm next. Let's see. This I am same with you, Kevin. I think this sticks right above season 3 for me. It is one of the seasons of Dragons Rising of all time. It happened. It felt like I watched it that 5 hours, and my jaw was on the floor almost every time. And then whenever I looked at it and I looked at it as a whole, I immediately had a lot of gripes about it. But at the same time, I genuinely think that this season will end. This part of the season will probably be better for me if it's what I think it might be, which is set up for a lot of things we're going to see later. We're going to see Sora and Frak and uh, Sora's parents later. We're probably going to get Jay having some kind of corrupted memories because of Shatterspin and all of the things that happened in season 2, and all of this happiness is going to be thrown in our faces
And I
and
straight up
turned on its
forgot it was
head.
called Shatterspin. I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean Shatterspin? I was
Yeah,
like,
you know,
oh.
somebody somebody even, because I was so like in a trance during the emo Lloyd and Lloyd sequence that I completely forgotten. Hey, look, there's Lloyd fighting Lloyd with a rising dragon technique. And I'm like, oh, okay, I remember that. Uh, and then at this point, I think it's just going to be in the middle, just because of how many things I loved about it. There's also something to complain about. It's very different than how I felt about season 3, where I had so much to complain about. And then I got, ooh, a musical number, cool. And uh, I'm kind of locked in because of all the setups that we're getting, and that's just where I am. Dragons Rising has become like a popcorn show for me. It's one of those shows where I go in and I'm like, I'm completely enjoying this, and I've got a bucket of popcorn sitting in front of me, and I just go at it, and then I come over here to vent on all of the things that didn't make sense.
I mean, hey, good outlet for
But
it.
yeah, it's a good outlet for it. Uh, genuinely, I felt more attachment to season 4 because of the fanfic that I am writing. I'm like right in the middle of rewatching Child's Play, so it had more of an impact on me because of how fresh that episode was in my mind. Uh, which a lot of people definitely wouldn't have if they did. Um, I I love this show. I'm gonna keep watching. May Ninjago never die,
For
and I
real,
stay here
Ninjago never
forever.
Here,
died.
here.
Daily reminder: we still have that theatrical movie coming.
Oh yeah, that
Oh,
is true.
Yes, and even more Lego Fortnite. We got a whole other Ninjago
Hey.
pass on the 16th. We got more stuff. Flintlock showed up. That was awesome. Uh, and we got some airships because everyone just started making the Destiny's Bounty in Lego Fortnite. They're like huge, they're giant, and you could actually like pilot around and fly them or whatever. I don't have the capability to build any of those things myself, but man, do they look cool.
Mm-hmm.
Epic. What'd you
All
think,
right.
Kit?
I'm gonna be short and sweet here because I think that's what I have, and also I'm getting called away right now.
Oh.
But I liked it. Big shocker. I enjoyed myself very much. I gave up very early on Dragons Rising giving me answers or follow through on stuff. I stopped caring about the plot long ago. So the reason I'm watching at this point is for the characters, and this season just gave me nothing but loosely justified, fun character interactions and character growth and character moments, and just whittled all of the plot away so that we could get to character moments. So I enjoyed myself very thoroughly.
Nice.
And for that reason, obviously it has problems. It has massive pacing problems. It has the J plot line, which gets me legitimately heated. It has issues, but all of the characters felt in character. And for that reason, it's gonna land among my personal favorites, even if I think objective quality wise, it's not really up there. It's gonna be in my S tier with my other personal favorites of what season 2 part 2 and season 3 part 1, which is kind of
Nice.
maybe the weirdest take of a lot of people in the fandom, but that's where I'm at.
Valid.
At some point in the future, we gotta have like a conversation because it'd be super interesting. Like your opinion has gone up over time,
Mhm.
It
while
has,
like my
arguably,
opinion's
as
gone
the show has
down.
gotten worse. Yeah.
But that's super interesting because there's so many different ways to look at stuff. But I
No,
don't know.
and
For real.
again, I had a whole big personal journey with it. And I have a long post that I wrote up the whole thing, but I think it was less
I
about
read.
the show and more about my relationship to the fandom, and like
Mm.
that was the main factor. Is like at first, me and the fandom could not see eye to eye on anything, and so even though the show was better, I could not interact with the fandom at all because we shared no common ground, or like very little common ground with each other. And like when season 3 came out, it was like we all agree this was bad, and so it was suddenly like, oh, I can hang out with you guys now. So that's the short
That's so
version.
funny.
That's the short
Well, there you
version.
go.
That's great. That's great.
Well
That's
said.
awesome.
Anyway, I do have to jet though, so I'll
Okay.
see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you,
Kit.
Kit.
Bye.
All right, Binda, give your thoughts and then
Yeah.
probably just.
I
send us out.
apologize everyone for this running so long.
No, it's
but
fine. I
As
expected
it
longer.
goes.
This was so fun, actually.
but
For real.
yeah, I'm glad people are enjoying this. I will say that. I'm glad the fandom's in a better spot. I wish I could feel passionate about literally anything in this season. But I just remember finishing it and just sitting there and being like, yeah, I don't care about anything here. Like I went into this season and all I really was hoping for was that like maybe I could like make a video if they did something cool with Lloyd, or if they did something cool with Jay, or if they did something cool with anyone else. But just nothing this season has enough for me to grasp even the good stuff like Frak's whole thing. There's still just not enough there for me to grasp at and to like pick apart and be like, yo, this is really neat. I like what they did here. and likewise, there's not really like also went into the season being like, okay, if it's like bad, I don't even have the energy to complain about it because like I just did that with season 3, and like I'm kind of like tapped out when it comes to that whole thing, and I don't think people want to hear me just complain again. But there isn't even enough, like, if I wanted to make a whole video like I did with the season 3 review, there's not even enough for me to do that either. It's just like this void of like of thought where it's like I just don't have any take on anything here other than it just didn't land for me. Nothing landed for me.
Hmm.
Nothing worked for me. There was like fun moments. I liked characterization. I liked Cole getting to be Cole. I liked, you know, I liked how Jay is characterized despite the fact that I think the story was pretty lazy and boring. I liked, you know, I liked a lot of stuff, but nothing really amounted to anything, and I just kind of am left being like, there's nothing left for me to care about at this point. There's not a single Dragons Rising plot thread left for me to be invested in. They cut off the whole J thing. They finished that up. The Lloyd thing, I went in being like, oh, I'm actually interested in this, and it just kind of didn't end up being anything. And everything else has already either been resolved or completely mishandled in a previous
Ross is
season.
Yeah.
master,
So
bro.
I'm just kind of sitting here
Ross.
like, what is I like what is my investment left? Like I don't care. I don't care about the Raw stuff. I don't care about how the merge I don't care about anything that's left to happen. I'm just sitting here like I don't know. I just I don't. So I'm interested to see how I feel after the next couple of installments. I'm interested to see how I feel by the time Dragons Rising wraps up. I'm
Mhm.
hoping that it's only up from here. I'm hoping that I enjoy future seasons more because we are basically, for me, I'm at a clean slate. So basically, anything that happens, I'm interested. But where I am right now, my investment is basically at 0. I don't even have the investment to like pick apart the season and like say much about it.
I think when all is said and done and this like series is over, I think we're gonna be able to like clearly look at everything and be like, okay, so like we were talking about earlier, would this have been better if it was not serialized? Would it have been better if it was just like, you know, old Ninjago basically, different like 10 episode waves? I do think the heavy serialization and like this is all part of a big long running saga, it is kind of hurting it a little bit
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's putting
And
like at least
this
in
was
some measure some like expectation
And
that yeah.
and
That's
this
a-
was a studio that had been used to making these episodes 11 minutes.
Mhm.
When you have 11 minutes, you have only so much time to do something, to move the story along or to introduce things and have it be complete. Like an episode like Ninjago Confidential would not exist in Dragons Rising.
Oh no, definitely
It
not.
would not exist because number 1, that episode was so tight and had like a certain tone that anything that immediately, if you wanted to make that episode 22 minutes and have that dispersed in between those two things, it would ruin the pacing. We're witnessing, I think, a studio who might have been used to doing something so short, and now that they have so much time, they feel like they have to pad it out with so many things that aren't technically necessary, but they
You
have
are
to do,
spot on.
but to
So
fill
sort of
that time slot.
I feel like that this is sort of like a precursor to, or like what was a precursor is to an extent maybe both season 11 and Crystallized, because that was a situation where they were given a lot more time, not per episode, but per season. And they sort of ran into a semi-different issue, but still the same conclusion of, wow, we have a lot of time here to do things. Let's do a lot of things, even if they don't really fully matter. Here it's like things that should have mattered, but then didn't really get executed as well as they could have been. But
Yeah.
in the end, it's supposed to just like a lot of time to
I mean,
do
I imagine
things.
it's really
And
tough to find the
Mhm.
sweet spot, right? Like,
no, for real, yeah.
because it's really hard if you don't have enough time. You have to truncate your story. You have no room to breathe. You can't really have like deep conversations about things. You have to have a fight scene an episode. But then now we have like this other problem where like, yeah, I do feel like a lot of this is just kind of bloat. I feel like
Mhm.
you could shave this down,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
we
Because
don't, and I don't like
we
it.
didn't technically have this problem whenever we did have 22 minutes. Let's say
Yeah.
um in like Skybound or Possession, where they had like that focus and you had different characters going through different arcs. Like for Possession, for example, you had the whole Lloyd thing was being possessed, and then you had Kai and Zayn doing their whole thing to get Lloyd back and their characterization and connections. And then you would just have like Cole and Nia having separate things that intertwine together and then move along, and while we're still getting the MacGuffin. Like those problems didn't happen earlier, but I think it's a problem of this studio trying to basically extend what they had and now are like toying with things that they didn't have a chance to and may be suffering because of it.
Yeah, but
Mm.
the thing is, like, season 1 and 2 worked a lot better, I feel like, because they had, like, season 1, most
They had
episodes were
so many
just one
things to
plot,
introduce though.
and
They
then
they had they had enough things where they could introduce. They had to
Yeah.
reintroduce
The
all of the
merge.
original ninja, the merge, Aaron and Sora, like and Euphrasia and all of those things. You had those things that you could introduce. But now with all of those things are introduced, now we get more fight scenes. Now we get more filler. Now we're in
Hmm.
a place where we
I
feel a little bit more empty.
I think one of the bigger problems as well is that even oh wait, me forgetting my thought halfway through. No. I think that because earlier, you know what? I forgot what I was gonna say. So someone else say something for 2 seconds while I think about it.
I will not accept season 1 and 2 revisionism. I have not forgotten the sea creature and the tooth, and like Lloyd and Aaron's epic
yeah,
adventure.
I
Like,
was just
Yeah, okay.
my point
I
was gonna
completely forgot
be
about that one.
in terms of pacing and stuff and everything. I think season 1 and 2 just felt a lot better to watch because they had at most like maybe 3 plots going on at a time, but it was usually just either
Mhm.
one single plot for an episode or an
Oh
A plot and a B plot. And the pacing felt a lot better, and like the 22-minute episodes actually felt like they had room to breathe, and it felt like an overall improvement from the 11-minute era. But then as soon as like we have season 3 and now season 4, it's just like we're juggling like 5 plots at once, and it just is so
no, that's true.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I cannot with it because nothing gets the room to
I
breathe, so nothing has impact.
I finally remember what I was gonna say. So early on in Dragons Rising, with my I guess semi not liking as much as I should, as much as I guess everyone else liking of Dragons Rising, I was, I guess on the fence of how I was feeling about the vibes and the things, and people were like to me, "Hey, this is one big story, so like you shouldn't judge it too much yet, because by the time we get to the end of it, everything should make sense." And the thing is, somehow
Yeah.
no, no, I
Yeah.
guess, which is I think I figured out at least a piece of the enigma of me trying to like find, because really I feel like the last 3 years or 4 years or however long it's been, I don't know how long it's been, of Dragons Rising, I've been trying to figure out in like my heart, in my soul, why it isn't working for me as much as I wish it was, because this isn't even me trying to not like the show, this is me wishing I loved it as much as everyone else does. And I think part of it might be because in the start, I wasn't super invested in a whole ton of things anyway. And then now, a lot of the things that people were invested in, some of them didn't work out anyway, on top of that, because it didn't really end up going and doing much with them, or like sort of like rush the arc or however it may be. And so now we're here. And I feel like while I'm having more, like, I guess, fun in the way of, I guess, superficial fun, like this is just cute or nice, I don't think it's as deep as I wish it was, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to keep thinking about that.
No, that's the thing about the serialization is I was really, that was the main appeal of Dragons Rising for me, was like, oh, it's we're having long overarching stories and things are getting set up over a long period of time and things are getting the room to breathe, and then later we're gonna have cool payoffs and everything's gonna feel like this big grand thing. And yeah, no, it's basically done nothing but just like kill any of my excitement for anything moving forward, because it's just like, here are all the things that I was hyped up for so long, and here's how they're completely mishandled, and then now we're just stuck with this bundled mess that I just have no feelings towards. I'm just like,
Well, it's
I
kind
don't
of just a
know how to
question
feel
of,
about
like,
any of this.
it's what we were talking about earlier with like the Jay thing or the Lloyd thing. Like how long you build up reveals and plot
Mhm.
twists and development, like it's got to be proportional to like what it ends up being.
Mhm.
Because it's
Indeed.
not so much that because like, okay, Roz's master, I don't have a specific, like, I'm not attached to any theory about who that is. I'm not like married. It could be whatever. But like, unless it's literally the first Spinjitzu master, it's gonna be underwhelming. Because what could it possibly
just-
be that's interesting after 5 years of build up?
I
Yeah.
really hope it is the first magician master at this point.
That'd be crazy.
It'd be so cool.
So
Because like he was
I mean,
brought
we'll
up in
see.
season 1 too as like, oh, he went around and he made a bunch of other other worlds, and it's just like, oh,
Oh, whenever
Yeah.
well,
Lloyd died, he
he's
knew
gonna
that
come
Lloyd was
back.
gonna die in season 10, and he
Like,
just traveled to the realm of wherever
yeah,
people
it feels
go
like
whenever they are done.
it's not exactly Chekhov's gun, but it feels like if you're going to bring up that the first Ninja Master did this stuff and knew these things and all this stuff, that I hope it would mean something later, I guess, and maybe that's how
Yeah.
it could mean something. But
Or even like Wu causing the merge. Like,
yeah, that too.
I'm sure there's a reason. I'm sure like, oh, if he didn't do the merge, then all the realms would have been destroyed. So he had to do it to save everyone. Okay. How many years is it gonna take us to get that reveal? Who's gonna care by the time
Yeah.
it gets revealed? Like it just
Well, a
goes
lot
on
of
for too
people
long.
well, a lot of people, maybe even like the loyalists who are like, yeah, Imperium was better before the merge. You know, those people, and those people who have lost things and have gone through all of those things, like, oh, the people that we loved and respected, like Sensei Wu and all the ninja, they're the ones who caused the merge and caused all this pain and blah blah
Yep.
blah, yada yada. That could be something good, but it's
Oh,
just
that's
one of
true.
those things where you have to like wait and see at this point.
Yeah.
I'm sure
'Cause
like
if
in
it-
universe they could
Because
do
if
interesting.
because if that's true, it's like if you're trying to reverse the merge, I bet there are a lot of people, especially like Aaron back in season 3, who are like, yeah, my life was better before the merge. I yeah, I know I had a good friend, but I lost my parents, I lost everything. We need to get everything back in order. We need to keep the lights on in Imperium. That just sounds like
No,
a
you're right.
big rise of stakes to me.
There's like
Man,
there's in universe stuff they could do for sure. It's just kind of like the
Yeah,
meta thing of
they
like,
have so many possibilities.
wait,
It's
hot
just
take.
taking them.
Hot lukewarm take in, or I don't even know what temperature take. Anyway, if by the end of the show they decide to, I guess, pull one of those cards where it's like, oh, the merge is undone and half the cast that we came to know and love just disappear off the face of the earth. I doubt they would ever do that, but that would be an ending that would hurt, I guess. I don't know how I'd feel about that. An ending where they like somehow the merge is undone for whatever reason. I don't think they'd ever do it, to be honest, but
that would be interesting.
interesting food for thought.
That would be interesting.
I'm
All right.
Yeah. But yeah,
Good
we
know.
we should wrap up. This
Yeah.
conversation could go on
Indeed.
forever and ever and
I
ever.
feel like I
Forever.
want it to keep going. It's just my head does still hurt and it's late, so
It is,
I
Yeah.
we've
do have to
been
get
And
going
you
going.
for a while.
thought you wouldn't have anything to say.
Well, you're right. It's kind of like I had to. It's like I'm driving, but I have to build the road in front of me. That's kind of like how it works sometimes.
That was me for like a week after this. It was like, how am I gonna talk about this?
Fair.
Am I gonna have to just break it down like section by section?
The
Like,
process
how is
of talking kind of helps like drag thoughts to the
Yeah.
surface for me.
Indeed.
And it was fun. It was a good talk, and
Yeah, it was very fun.
I'm sure there's tons more we will probably come up with in the weeks to come.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you
Here's
guys
to
so much
purchase.
for joining
Yeah.
me on this
Absolutely.
Ninjago cast. As
problem.
always, you guys have been wonderful guests
Oh,
And thanks to Kevin and Kit who are
who
gone.
who
but-
have
Yeah,
since,
who are
have since
AFK.
departed.
gone but not forgotten.
But
Yeah,
as
yeah.
of everyone who's still here, I have been your Sensei Bendo.
I'm Konya Crystal.
I'm cheesy.
And I'm Meso.
Oh,
And I'm Kevin.
hey.
Oh.
Hey.
He's
Kit,
back.
and Kit was here. Thank you guys so much for watching NinjagoCast. The dojo is now closing. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Thank you guys, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye bye.